After the college entrance exam, my best friend insisted I apply for the same obscure major as her, claiming it would guarantee a secure job after graduation. I trusted her and gave up my first choice program. On the first day of school, I walked into an empty classroom and realized I was the only student in the entire program. When I called to confront her, I discovered she had already blocked my number, just as I was losing all hope and preparing to drop out. An elderly gentleman with silver hair walked in. "I'm your academic advisor from the National Academy of Sciences, young scholar." The September wind rustled sparse fallen leaves against the windowpane, creating a soft whispering sound. I sat alone in the classroom marked, Department of Ancient Matter Energy, feeling my heart sink little by little. The vast lecture hall was spotless, every desk and chair wiped clean, yet so empty you could hear the echo. It had already been 3 hours since the opening ceremony ended. There were no classmates, no academic advisor, not even a single passerby to ask what was going on. I feel like a lost soul, forgotten by the world. No way. 01. Sabrina swore this was a golden major, guaranteed government jobs right after graduation. She said her uncle pulled strings just to get this insider info. She promised we'd start our 4-year college journey here together. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling as I tapped open WeChat. The pinned conversation still showed the message I sent her yesterday. "Sabrina, I can't wait to see you tomorrow." No reply. I opened her moments, and my heart clenched. The latest update is a group photo taken at the main gate of University A. That was the first choice university I gave up on. In the photo, Sabrina is beaming radiantly, surrounded by unfamiliar faces, holding up University A's bright red admission letter. The caption reads, "New beginnings, University A, here I come." My mind went blank with a buzzing sound. My blood seemed to freeze instantly, my hands and feet as cold as if they'd just been pulled from a freezer. I frantically dialed her number. All I heard from the receiver was the cold, impersonal tone of a system prompt. "The number you have dialed is currently busy." I hung up and redialed. Once, twice, 10 times. Finally, the voice changed to, "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable." No. That wasn't the case at all. I called again using my roommate's phone. It was picked up almost instantly after just one ring. "Hello, who's this?" came Sabrina's sickly sweet voice. I snatched the phone and screamed into the receiver, "Sabrina." There was a second of silence on the other end. Then the call was abruptly disconnected. When I called back, all I got was a busy signal. She had blocked the number. My hands trembled as I opened QQ, and her profile picture had turned gray. She had deleted me. Across all social platforms, I was unilaterally and completely cut off by her. The one who grew up with me, who promised to be my best friend for life, ended our relationship in the cruelest way possible. Why? What did I even do wrong? Is it because I scored 50 points higher than her on the college entrance exam? Is it because all the teachers liked me more? Is it because all the praise and honors she could never obtain ended up being bestowed upon me? So she decided to ruin my life in this manner, forcing me to give up my dream university just to enroll in this deserted, third-rate program. An overwhelming sense of betrayal and humiliation washed over me like a tidal wave. Tears streamed down uncontrollably, splattering on the icy cold desktop. I couldn't hold on any longer and dialed home. "Mom." That single word was all I could choke out before sobs overtook me. I want to drop out and retake the college entrance exams. My mother on the other end of the line was clearly alarmed by my state. Her voice filled with panic and concern. She kept comforting me, urging me to calm down first and not make any rash decisions. But how could I possibly calm down? She had personally cast my life into the abyss. Just as I lay slumped over the desk, weeping to the point of near collapse, the classroom's heavy wooden door creaked open with a groan. A figure, silhouetted against the light, slowly entered. His hair was completely white, and he wore a faded Zhongshan suit, though slender in build. He stood with his back ramrod straight. Those eyes, set within wrinkled sockets, glimmered with a serene light that seemed to understand everything. He approached me, his voice gentle yet carrying an undeniable authority. "You must be Arya, right?" I lifted my tear-streaked face, staring at him numbly, with nothing but wariness left in my heart. "Another scammer. Is this part of the scam? Get out," I roared, my voice hoarse, unleashing all my despair and rage in that single word. "You damn scammers. Get the hell out of here." The old man didn't get angry, not even a flicker of emotion crossed his face. He just watched me quietly, as if observing a petulant child. Only after I had calmed down a bit did he leisurely pull out 2 red-covered documents from his briefcase and place them on my desk. One was an employment contract, the other was an employee ID, as if guided by some unseen force. My hand reached out and picked up the employee ID, flipping it open. In the photo, he looked younger than he does now, but his gaze was just as piercing, and in the name field, 3 letters stood out, Edwin. The title at the bottom exploded in my chaotic mind like a thunderclap, National Academy of Sciences, academician. My fingers froze on the document, my mind completely blank. An academician, the National Academy of Sciences. The combination of these 2 concepts felt overwhelmingly abstract to someone like me, fresh out of high school. With a worldview still confined to textbooks and exam papers, academician Edwin didn't rush me. He simply retrieved his credentials in silence before turning toward the doorway. Come with me. His voice remained calm, as if certain I would follow. I don't know how I managed to get to my feet. My legs felt like lead, yet also as if I were walking on cotton wool, moving mechanically as I followed behind him. We walked through the long corridor, descended the teaching building, and circled around the beautiful artificial lake at the school's center. Along the way, every teacher who encountered Prof. Edwin stopped and respectfully greeted him with, "Good day, Mr. Edwin." Their eyes held a reverence that came from the depths of their hearts. My heart raced faster and faster, seized by a bizarre and uncanny premonition. Finally, we came to a stop before an unassuming gray building. The building was enclosed by high walls, with 2 heavily armed guards stationed at the entrance. The atmosphere here stood in stark contrast to the lively and relaxed vibe of a university campus, exuding an air of severity and austerity. Professor Edwin approached the metal door, and a panel on it lit up with a red glow. He positioned his face in front of the recognition zone. Iris verification passed. He pressed his thumb against another sensor pad, fingerprint verified. The heavy metal door slid open with a deep thud. I followed him into a whole new world. Instead of the office or classroom I had imagined, it was a vast, jaw-droppingly immense space of pure white. Countless sophisticated instruments I had never seen before glowed with an eerie blue light, while massive robotic arms glided silently along ceiling tracks. The walls were covered in streams of real-time data constantly shifting and updating. Several young people in white lab coats hurried by. Upon spotting Professor Edwin, they immediately stopped, greeted him respectfully, and then turned to study me with curious and inquisitive looks. I felt like a modern-day Gulliver who had stumbled into the land of giants, utterly insignificant, ignorant, and completely awestruck. "This is where you'll be studying and working for the next 4 years." Professor Edwin's voice echoed in my ears. He gestured toward the vast space, a subtle note of pride in his tone. "The Ancient Matter Energy Department isn't an ordinary major. It's a specialized talent development program established by the nation for a top-secret project codenamed Candle Dragon." My breath caught in my throat. This project aims to study a unique substance from deep within the Earth's core, which could fundamentally reshape humanity's energy landscape. Therefore, this discipline demands exceptional qualities from students: talent, perseverance, and character. All 3 are indispensable. Professor Edwin turned his head, fixing me with an intense gaze. "We're not looking at anything else, just the mathematical talent and logical reasoning you demonstrated in high school. The extracurricular paper you submitted on nonlinear dynamical models showed me that potential. That's why we only admit 1 person each year, and sometimes we go several years in a row without finding a suitable candidate." His words hit me like bullets, shattering everything I thought I knew. "As for your classmate, Sabrina," he paused. "She probably just heard the name of this major and some unsubstantiated rumors from certain sources, and then took advantage of your trust." He didn't spell it out, but I understood. Sabrina, like a sewer rat catching a glimpse of paradise, could neither enter herself nor bear to see me enter. So she crafted a lie woven with 9 parts falsehood and 1 part truth, trying to shove me into the hell of her own making. Little did she know, her desperate attempt to ruin my future actually propelled me into the real paradise. What bitter irony. Professor Edwin led me to a massive spherical device. At the center of the apparatus hovered a fist-sized, pitch-black substance slowly rotating, causing subtle distortions in the surrounding space. "This is our research subject." Its energy density is 10,000 times greater than the most potent nuclear fuel currently available. In that instant, I forgot the betrayal, forgot the pain, forgot Sabrina's smug face. My entire soul was captivated by this mysterious substance before me. It was the most primal yearning for the unknown, the purest longing for scientific truth. Now, you have two choices. Professor Edwin's voice snapped me out of my daze. First, stay, become my student and the future core of this project. You'll gain access to the world's most cutting-edge technology, and your name may one day be recorded in the nation's annals of honor, but this path is destined to be lonely and arduous. Second, leave, we'll erase all your memories from today, and you'll sign a lifelong confidentiality agreement. Then you can return to retake your exams, transfer to an ordinary major, and go back to the life you know. He presented me with a choice. One leads to the clouds, the other returns to dust. In my mind, I see my parents' worried faces on one side, and that glaring photo of Sabrina at University A's gate on the other. Repeat senior year, endure a year of agony and torment just to chase after a traitor's shadow. No, on what grounds? A stubborn, defiant determination I'd never felt before surged up from the depths of my being. Sabrina, isn't this exactly what you wanted, to watch me fall? Did you really think you could keep me under your thumb forever by tricking me into this third-rate university? Then I'll stay right here. I'll rise to heights you, and everyone else, could never hope to reach. I'll make you watch with your own eyes how your past foolishness and malice ultimately forged the magnificent person I become. I looked up and met Professor Edwin's inquisitive gaze, enunciating each word with absolute clarity. I'm staying. The one-on-one teaching arrangement turned out to be 100 times more grueling than I had ever imagined. Professor Edwin tossed me a stack of all English original textbooks, each as thick as a brick. Introduction to Quantum Field Theory, High-Energy Physics, Plasma Theory, Material Structure Science. These incredibly complex subjects spanning multiple interdisciplinary fields loomed over me like colossal mountains, leaving me gasping for air. While Aria's foundational knowledge was top-tier among her peers, here she felt as insignificant as a speck of dust. I was barely getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep each day, trapped in a monotonous cycle between the library and the lab. Caffeine has become my only lifeline. My brain feels like an overloaded machine, constantly stretched to its breaking point. At 3 a.m., staring at pages of incomprehensible symbols, I'm often hit by waves of dizziness and despair. There were several times I genuinely wanted to throw in the towel. Just then, my phone would always light up at the worst possible moment. It was a screenshot sent by a mutual friend. Sabrina has posted on her moments again. 02. Had so much fun at today's mixer, met lots of interesting seniors. The photo shows her laughing and clinking glasses with friends at a KTV, my first club event. College life is absolutely amazing. She's pictured at a club recruitment booth, flashing her sweetest smile. These vibrant photos create a bitterly ironic contrast with my dim desk lamp and cold equations. She's living the college life I once dreamed of, while I'm stuck here enduring this living hell. Eventually, Sabrina couldn't resist and sent me her concern through a mutual friend's WeChat. Aria, I heard your school is in the middle of nowhere. Is it true your major only has one student? You're not just toughing it out, are you? If you're struggling, you should tell us. Don't just waste away alone at that diploma mill. The thinly veiled concern and barely concealed superiority dripping from her words pierced my heart like poison needles. Giving up on myself, I stared at my sallow, sleep-deprived face in the mirror, dark circles carved deep beneath my eyes. A surge of blind rage shot from my chest to the crown of my head. I left the message unanswered. I quietly exited the group chat with our mutual friend. Then, right in front of Professor Edwin, I uninstalled every single social media app from my phone, one by one. Weibo, gone, QQ, deleted. WeChat retains only the most basic messaging features. Professor Edwin watched my actions, his clouded eyes flickering with approval. The noise of the outside world only distorts your judgment of truth. From this day forward, forget who you are, forget where you came from. You're merely an explorer. At that moment, I found complete peace within myself. Sabrina's bragging and the outside noise no longer concerned me. Only knowledge and goals remained in my world. The anger and resentment she stirred transformed into an almost obsessive drive to study. I was like a parched sponge, voraciously soaking up the nutrients of knowledge. 1 week, in just 7 days, I crammed those textbooks into my head, the same ones others needed a whole semester to digest. This wasn't mere memorization, but true comprehension, deduction, and mastery. When I placed the draft papers filled with dozens of pages of derivations before Professor Edwin, his perpetually stern face broke into a genuine smile for the first time. Excellent, with the theoretical foundation solidly laid, now we can get our hands dirty. He led me into that core laboratory. My first assignment was conducting a complex extraction of ionized matter. This was an experiment you'd never find in undergraduate textbooks. It required precision calculations and millisecond-level operations. Clad in bulky protective gear, I stood before the massive equipment with sweaty palms, following the steps in my mind, calculating parameters, adjusting frequencies, injecting catalysts. Every move I made felt like walking on thin ice. When I saw that faint blue energy successfully extracted from the host and stably suspended in the magnetic containment field on the monitor, I nearly collapsed from exhaustion. Success. I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. Professor Edwin walked over and patted my shoulder. Arya, you were born for this. It was the first compliment I'd received since arriving here. The overwhelming joy of success and sense of validation washed over me like a warm tide, instantly melting away days of exhaustion and the sting of betrayal. For the first time, I discovered how utterly captivating the thrill of exploring the unknown could be. The shadow Sabrina cast over me seemed to fade considerably in this moment. During the 7-day National Day holiday, more than half the students had left campus. I didn't go home, spending the entire day immersed in the lab, shadowing senior students to learn how to operate more complex equipment. On the third day of vacation, my phone suddenly vibrated while I was eating in the cafeteria. It was an unknown number. After a moment's hesitation, I answered it. Hey Arya, it's Zhang Shui here. Remember me? We were in class 3 senior year. Zhang Shui, one of Sabrina's lackeys. My guard went up immediately. What do you want? My tone was icy. Oh hey, a few of us classmates came to visit your campus and heard you're here. Thought we'd catch up. Sabrina's with us too. She's been missing you like crazy. My stomach churned with violent nausea. Miss me? More like wanting to see how far I've fallen. I'm busy. I flatly refused. Come on, we're already at your school gate. At least come meet us. Her tone carried an air of unquestionable entitlement. Gripping my phone tighter, I finally muttered a single word. Okay, let's see what tricks they're up to this time. I met them at the school gate. Sabrina stood in the center, wearing an elegant dress with flawless makeup, surrounded by several equally glamorous men and women. Sabrina's eyes flickered with disdain as she took in my plain white tee, jeans, and bare face. But a phony smile instantly plastered itself across her features. Arya. Finally, we'd been waiting forever. She moved to link arms with exaggerated warmth, but I deftly sidestepped the gesture. Her hand froze mid-air, her expression visibly darkening. Zhang Shui quickly intervened. Arya, your campus is quite spacious. By the way, where's that ancient matter energy department building? Mind giving us a tour? The question instantly drew everyone's gaze toward me. Their eyes gleaming with schadenfreude. I knew this was their real agenda all along. We don't have a department building, I replied calmly. What? Zhang Shui's jaw dropped dramatically. An entire department without its own building? Where do you even hold classes? Sabrina burst into laughter and patted my hand with feigned concern. Arya, are you sure you haven't been scammed? This sounds like some fly-by-night operation. You should drop out now and retake the exams for our university next year. Anything's better than staying in this dump. Her classmates burst into mocking laughter around her. Yeah, that major name sounds downright weird. Being the only student in the whole program, doesn't that creep you out? Their words pierced like venom-tipped needles, probing cracks in my carefully maintained composure. 2 months ago, I probably would have broken down in tears by now. But today, I just watched them jumping around like a bunch of circus clowns. I feel absolutely nothing. If anything, it's almost laughable. My advisor is Professor Edwin. I murmured those words softly. Sabrina and Zhang Shui froze momentarily, exchanging puzzled glances. Professor Edwin, who's that? Zhang Shui asked blankly. Never heard of him. Is he some famous professor at your university? Another guy inquired. Sabrina burst into louder laughter. Arya, don't try to impress us with some random old professor's name. Our university A alone has several academicians, and I've never heard of any major with just one student. Their laughter was shrill and grating. Just then, a gentle yet authoritative voice came from nearby. Arya, what are you still doing here? Didn't we agree you'd visit the computing center this afternoon? I turned around and saw Professor Edwin approaching me, followed by several others. Leading the group was the university's president. Flanking the president were several impeccably dressed VIPs I'd only seen on television. The entourage had been chatting amiably, but upon spotting Professor Edwin, the president immediately halted with a deferential smile. Mr. Edwin, you didn't have to come out personally, just say the word if you need anything. He even bowed slightly, adopting an extremely deferential posture. Then he turned to me with the warmth of a kindly neighborhood uncle. This must be Arya, truly exceptional. As expected, if you encounter any academic challenges or need living accommodations, don't hesitate to inform the school. We'll provide full support. Sabrina and her clique's laughter died abruptly. Their expressions shifted from mockery to shock, then to blank stares, before finally draining of all color. Even these dimwits could tell, anyone who made the school principal grovel like this was no ordinary old professor. Professor Edwin ignored the principal, simply gesturing for me to approach. Let's go, no time to waste. Yes, Professor. Without another glance at Sabrina, I turned calmly and followed Professor Edwin's lead. The dean and those VIPs immediately fell in step behind us, forming an entourage as we proceeded deeper into campus. I could feel their burning gazes, stunned, incredulous, piercing through my back like laser beams. God, that felt indescribably satisfying. After the National Day holiday, Sabrina went completely radio silent. My bet. She definitely Googled Edwin the moment she got home. What expression would she wear when seeing that glaring list of titles in the search results? Academician of the National Academy of Sciences, Laureate of the nation's highest science and technology award, Chief Scientist of the Candle Dragon Project. Shock, remorse, or sheer, maddening envy. Just picturing her contorted face gives me immense satisfaction. She'll never understand how her carefully plotted sabotage ended up being my greatest vindication. For someone as vain and selfish as her, this realization must be more agonizing than any punishment. As for me, I've no time to spare worrying about a loser's feelings. Under Professor Edwin's guidance, I officially began studying the core theories of the Candle Dragon Project. Those formulas and models that once seemed incomprehensible now revealed an oddly beautiful sense of order to my eyes. I was completely absorbed, forgetting to eat and sleep. One afternoon, while deriving a formula for the energy decay path of ancient matter, I discovered a minute anomaly that contradicted existing theoretical models. Textbook models posit that decay paths are stable and linear, yet after recalculating over a dozen times, my results consistently indicated nonlinear, chaotic possibilities. My heart started pounding wildly. This meant the model revered as gospel truth in academic circles might be wrong, or rather, incomplete. Clutching my calculations nervously, I went to find Professor Edwin. He put on his reading glasses and examined each page with meticulous care. The lab was so quiet you could only hear the hum of instruments. After what felt like ages, he finally looked up, his eyes blazing with an intensity I'd never seen before. A mix of astonishment, exhilaration, and the admiration of meeting one's match. Bold hypotheses demand rigorous verification. Arya, you've pierced through the veil. Instead of dismissing me, he gave me the greatest encouragement. 03. Turn this into a research paper. Your name deserves to be recognized in academia. With Professor Edwin's personal guidance and endorsement, my research paper was submitted to China's premier physics journal, High Energy Physics Communications. A week later, I received a response from the editorial board. The paper was accepted outright for publication. When the news broke, it caused a sensation across the entire campus. A freshman independently completed a research paper and got it published in a domestic core journal. That's absolutely unbelievable. The school forum went completely wild. Holy crap, a freshman publishing in a top-tier journal. What kind of genius is this? Ancient energy systems. I thought it was some Mickey Mouse major. Turns out it's the real deal. Who the hell is this Arya? She's absolutely insane. I hereby declare Arya our new campus queen, the brainy beauty. The whirlwind of gossip thrust me into the spotlight. Walking across campus, I could feel eyes following me from every direction, some curious, some admiring, others downright envious, but I've stopped caring. I know this is just the beginning. Sabrina, are you seeing this? This is the flower-strewn path to greatness you've paved for me with your own hands. I rose to fame overnight. Yet beneath this glory lies a foundation called merit that you'll never reach. In late October, the annual National College Student Innovation Competition commenced. As a perennial powerhouse, University A is always a top contender for the championship every year. Sabrina also entered the competition with her cutting-edge AI project, a deep learning-based campus smart navigation system. She aggressively campaigned across social media and campus groups, rallying votes and projecting an air of inevitable victory. It's as if the grand prize was already hers for the taking. Professor Edwin also heard about this competition. He approached me casually and said, "Why don't you give it a shot? Just extend your paper's theory into a model. It'll be good practice to exchange ideas with your peers." I wasn't particularly interested in these kinds of competitions initially, but the thought of potentially running into Sabrina at the event sparked my competitive spirit. I nodded in agreement. The submission of registration information immediately sparked quite a discussion on campus. Areas joining too. Her specialization is way too niche, isn't it? Exactly. Popular applied projects tend to dominate these competitions. The judges might not even understand her purely theoretical work, probably just going to make a token appearance and walk away with a participation trophy. Sabrina had clearly caught wind of these rumors too. At a pre-competition pep rally at University A, she made pointed remarks. Academic work requires solid grounding. Some people shouldn't get carried away just because they got lucky publishing one paper and start thinking they're invincible. The competition arena is the ultimate test of truth. Someone recorded this speech and posted it on our university's forum. Everyone could tell her remarks were thinly veiled jabs at me. Watching her sanctimonious performance as the academic goddess in that video just made me laugh. I didn't respond to any criticism, quietly focusing on preparing my project and defense presentation instead. Just as expected, my project hit snags during the preliminary review. Most judges frowned upon seeing the title, Paleomatter Energy Model. It was too cutting edge, too theoretical, completely beyond their realm of understanding. Several judges outright recommended rejection. Just as my project was about to be axed, an elderly professor from the Chinese Academy of Sciences stepped forward. He happened to know Professor Edwin and had read my paper. Overriding all objections, he declared firmly, "This project represents a crucial future direction for our nation's fundamental physics research. Your failure to comprehend it reflects your own academic limitations. You have no right to stifle a genius who could change the future." Thanks to the old professor's staunch support, my project narrowly made it to the finals. The finals were held at the China National Convention Center. Fate finally brought Sabrina and me face to face. When she spotted me at the finals, a flicker of surprise and envy crossed her face before she masked it with haughty indifference. The draw placed her right before me in the presentation order. Her PowerPoint was dazzlingly elaborate, packed with flashy animations and effects that were admittedly impressive at first glance. But when it came to the QA session with the judges, she immediately showed her nerves. "Sabrina, what's the core algorithm of your model? What are its time and space complexities?" Well, it's mainly built on some open-source frameworks. "What's the sample size of your training dataset? Did you perform cross-validation to prevent overfitting?" "Well, our team is still working on further improvements." After several technical questions, Sabrina was sweating bullets, stammering and giving irrelevant answers. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly awkward. Finally, it was my turn. I stepped onto the stage without flashy animations, presenting only the most streamlined formulas, models, and data charts. Calmly surveying the sea of judges and audience members before me, I began my presentation. What I bring today is a nonlinear chaotic model describing ancient matter's energy decay pathways, while traditional linear models work at macroscopic scales. We've observed significant energy leakage phenomena at quantum levels. My model exists to explain and predict this behavior. I didn't use any complex jargon, just crystal clear logic to unpack that profound theory step by step, from model architecture to data validation, and even its potential future applications. The entire auditorium fell pin-drop silent. Everyone was captivated by the grand yet meticulously detailed physics universe I'd painted. As I finished delivering my final words, the room fell into complete silence for 3 seconds. Then, thunderous applause erupted. After my defense concluded, an unprecedented scene unfolded at the judges' panel. Several top experts from different fields engaged in heated discussions, verging on arguments, about my project right then and there. An astrophysics professor leapt to his feet excitedly. If validated, this model would perfectly explain the anomalous energy dissipation we've observed in pulsars. A materials science academician countered, no, its greater significance lies in guiding us to synthesize entirely new room temperature superconductors. The heated debate raged on for nearly half an hour, with the moderator repeatedly failing to restore order. Ultimately, it was the senior professor who'd championed my cause that brought the matter to closure. Everyone, let's not argue. The value of this model far exceeds the scope of our competition. It's a key that unlocks the door to a new world. The final judging results came as no surprise. The competition's sole grand prize was unprecedentedly awarded to me, an unknown freshman. As I accepted the weighty trophy from the presenter, I spotted Sabrina in the audience. She only received a meaningless consolation prize. She stood in the corner of the crowd, her face deathly pale, eyes burning with resentment and bitterness. At that moment, the distance between us had become an unbridgeable chasm. The competition results were splashed across major media outlets. Prodigy Girl takes the nation by storm, single-handedly dominating the national innovation competition. Obscure expertise stuns the crowd. Freshman Aria may revolutionize physics. My ancient matter-energy research went viral overnight across the internet. Yet immense glory brought treacherous undercurrents in its wake. Sabrina completely lost her composure. She couldn't stomach seeing the person she'd condemned to hell now standing atop the clouds, basking in the limelight. She resorted to the vilest means for one final counterattack. Anonymous posts began surfacing online. Shocking scandal. Prodigy Girl's thesis allegedly plagiarized from advisor. Competition projects entirely orchestrated by mentor. Exposing the dark secrets between rising academic star Aria and her 60-something academician advisor, the rumors spread like wildfire. The content was vile, filled with slander and defamation. They portrayed me as an academic prostitute trading favors for advancement, while painting Professor Edwin as a lecherous old predator. A torrent of filthy accusations came pouring down on me. Facing such overwhelming malice for the first time, I was completely stunned, seething with anger and injustice. I tried to defend myself only to find my voice drowned in the deafening whirlwind of public opinion. I locked myself in my dorm room, too afraid to check my phone or step outside. The helplessness of being misunderstood and vilified by the entire world nearly consumed me. Just as I was on the verge of breaking down, Professor Edwin's call came through. His voice carried unprecedented fury, the thunderous wrath of a top scholar whose unblemished integrity had been violated. Aria, remember this. The sanctity of science shall never be defiled by petty minds. Don't worry about anything, just focus on your studies. Leave the rest to me. As I hung up the phone, gazing at the pitch-black night sky through the window, tears streamed down my face once more, but this time, it wasn't out of grievance or helplessness, it was because I was deeply moved. I knew then that behind me stood both a giant and an entire nation. The very next day, public sentiment took a dramatic turn. First, our university's official Weibo account issued a strongly worded statement. In the statement, the university vouched for Aria's academic integrity based on its century-old reputation and explicitly stated that legal proceedings had been initiated to hold online rumor-mongers fully accountable. Then came an even bigger bombshell. Science China, the nation's most authoritative scientific journal, published an exclusive interview with academician Edwin. The interview was titled, "I would dedicate my life's honor to nurturing a seedling of science." During the interview, Professor Edwin publicly acknowledged me as his last protege. For the first time, he meticulously recounted the entire journey of my paper, from initial inspiration to final form through rigorous verification, while generously showcasing my hundreds of pages of research notes and experimental drafts. Those densely packed formulas, diagrams, and cryptic notations only we could decipher stood as irrefutable evidence no one could fabricate. Professor Edwin's face darkened when reporters brought up the online rumors. 04. He spoke deliberately into the camera, enunciating every word. Aria's talent and dedication are unparalleled in my 30 years of teaching. She's a once-in-a-century genius. Anyone who dares tarnish this pure scientific brilliance with filthy means will have to answer to me. Edwin, first, let me make this crystal clear. Whoever crosses Arya crosses me, Edwin, and crosses our entire Candle Dragon project. At the end of the interview, he gazed into the camera with paternal warmth and quiet expectation in his eyes. I hope everyone can provide her with undisturbed research conditions. Don't let gossip destroy a scientist who may contribute tremendously to our nation. The interview detonated across public discourse like a nuclear warhead, with his personal prestige that carries national-level weight. Prof. Edwin delivered the most powerful vindication for me. All the rumors instantly became pathetic jokes in the face of this interview. Public opinion online did a complete 180 overnight. Holy crap, Mr. Edwin himself stepped in. That's some serious clout. I'm crying. This mentor-protege bond is legendary. Mr. Edwin treats Arya like his own granddaughter. To those who criticized Arya before, I'm on my knees begging forgiveness. I was the real villain all along. My public image transformed overnight, from a golden girl who supposedly slept her way to the top, to a genuine prodigy officially endorsed by national-level experts. Meanwhile, developments quickly emerged from the other side of the storm. The school deployed technical measures to trace the anonymous IP address spreading rumors online. The address is right at University A's student dormitory. With both eyewitness testimony and material evidence, Sabrina had no way to deny it. What awaited her was that sternly worded, severe warning disciplinary action, posted on the school bulletin board. This disciplinary record would become a lifelong stain in her personal file. Rumor has it she became a social pariah overnight at a university, practically driven out like a rat scurrying from a beating. When I heard the news from classmates, my heart remained utterly still. No schadenfreude. Not an ounce of pity. She simply reaped what she sowed. This storm has tempered my spirit, leaving it stronger and clearer than before. I've come to realize that both praise and criticism from others are but fleeting clouds. True competence in your own hands is the sharpest weapon to silence all doubts. I'm channeling all my energy back into scientific research. Under Professor Edwin's mentorship, I officially joined the Candle Dragon project as a core team member. The once elusive and mysterious world finally opened its doors to me in earnest. Time flew by, and before I knew it, I was already a sophomore. That year, I became fully immersed in the daily rhythm of the Candle Dragon project team. The lab became my second home, where my serious-faced senior researchers in white coats turned into my closest family. Our daily routine was monotonous, dull, and at times downright suffocating. The project hit an unprecedented roadblock. A special catalytic material crucial to the core reaction had its theoretical model perfected, yet every synthesis attempt kept failing miserably. We've tested thousands of formulas and exhausted countless precious, ancient matter resources, yet the results consistently fall far short of theoretical projections. The entire team has been at a standstill for nearly half a year because of this. The lab atmosphere grew increasingly tense, with visible exhaustion and anxiety etched on every face. Professor Edwin's silver hair seemed to have multiplied noticeably. I was equally anxious, diving into the ancient university library whenever possible, searching desperately for clues amidst the ocean of documents. That afternoon, in an obscure corner, I discovered a dust-covered thread-bound antique tome. Its title read, Anomalies Recorded in the Exploitation of the Works of Nature. Flipping through casually, I found it primarily documented ancient Chinese metallurgy and forging techniques. Just as I was growing drowsy and about to shelve the book, a passage describing quenching suddenly caught my eye. Melt crimson gold, sheath it in western regions, frost iron, place in the land of ultimate een, summon celestial flames from the heavens for instantaneous quenching, thus forging an indestructible divine weapon. To others, this fantastical description might seem like ancient fantasy, but in my mind, it struck like lightning. Crimson gold fusion, superheated smelting, western frost iron, flash freezing, abyssal chill zone, cryogenic environment, celestial inferno, particle beam impact. Isn't this precisely a specialized technique that induces material, phase transitions, through extreme thermal gradients and high-energy impacts? Our previous synthesis approach was rigidly confined to constant environments, relying solely on chemical catalysts to drive reactions. We'd never conceived that such physical, instantaneous quenching could destabilize a material's inherent energy configuration. An entirely novel, audacious synthesis protocol rapidly took shape in my mind. Clutching that ancient manuscript, I dashed back to the lab like a madman and found Professor Edwin. When I laid out my idea completely, dead silence fell over the conference room. All the researchers were looking at me like I'd lost my mind. Preposterous. A senior researcher was the first to object, using physical impact to induce chemical synthesis. This completely contradicts our current materials science theories. What's more, maintaining such extreme conditions is way too risky. One wrong move and the entire lab could go up in flames. Voices of opposition rose like waves. They dismissed my idea as some sophomore's pipe dream, pure fantasy. Just as I was buckling under everyone's skepticism, Professor Edwin, who'd been silent all along, suddenly slammed his fist on the table. Why the hell not? His gaze swept across the room, sharp as a blade. Every scientific breakthrough begins with breaking conventions. We've been shackled by outdated theories for far too long. He turned to me with unwavering trust and support in his eyes. Arya, I've got your back. I'm setting up a dedicated research team for you with full access to all equipment and resources you'll need. Go for it. Professor Edwin stood firm against all opposition. I got my very first independent research team. The following 3 months saw us endure countless failures. The material decomposes under high heat, shatters in freezing temperatures, and gets pulverized into useless dust when bombarded by particle beams. Each failure translates to massive resource depletion and devastating psychological blows. My team members went from initial enthusiasm to numb resignation, with some even wavering and privately urging me to quit. Only I kept holding on. I meticulously adjusted the temperature, pressure, and energy parameters of the particle beam. Each subtle tweak could yield dramatically different outcomes. Then, on the 1001st attempt, as the precisely calibrated proton beam, traveling at near light speed, collided with the target material enveloped in liquid nitrogen and laser containment, the impossible happened. On the monitoring screen, the curves representing the energy structure frenetically danced and reconfigured before finally stabilizing into that perfect theoretical waveform we dreamed of achieving inside the experimental chamber. A silvery new material emitting a faint glow hovered motionlessly in midair. We've done it. The control room first plunged into tomb-like silence, then erupted in deafening cheers. Everyone embraced each other, weeping tears of joy. This breakthrough signifies the removal of the most critical obstacle in the Candle Dragon project. It means our nation's cutting-edge weapons technology will leapfrog global competitors by at least a decade. 2 weeks later, a weighty medal bearing the national emblem was pinned to my chest by a general himself, National Young Scientist Medal. I became the youngest recipient in the award's history. That year, I was 19. My name and that Young Scientist Medal made headlines across international tech news. MIT, Stanford, Cambridge. Invitation letters from world-renowned universities kept pouring onto Professor Edwin's desk like snowflakes. Without exception, they all offered the most enticing packages: full scholarships, top-tier faculty teams, and complete research freedom, all vying for my enrollment in their combined master's doctoral programs. These institutions that once seemed like unattainable dreams had now become options I could casually choose between. What is Sabrina doing at this very moment? From scattered updates by mutual friends, I learned she's desperately pulling strings everywhere to secure a graduate recommendation spot, struggling with poor grades and that permanent disciplinary record. The prestigious university halo she once wore with pride granted her no special favors. When she saw online news of me wearing medals and giving interviews, I can't begin to imagine what monstrous form her jealousy and regret might have twisted into. She finally had a breakdown. She managed to reach me through the last remaining high school classmate who hadn't blocked her yet. The classmate sounded really awkward on the phone. Arya, Sabrina wants to apologize to you. She said she knows she was wrong and begs for your forgiveness. She also hopes you could put in a good word for her with the professors at University A regarding her postgraduate recommendation. For old time's sake, I listened quietly, completely unmoved, as if hearing a story that had nothing to do with me. Apologies, pleading favors. When she pushed my life to the brink, why didn't she think to apologize? When she slandered me online with the vilest words, why didn't she consider begging for mercy? Now that she's cornered, she thinks a flimsy sorry can erase all the damage she's done. The world doesn't work that way. I felt neither anger nor mockery. I simply spoke 4 calm words into the phone. We walk different paths, indeed. Those who follow different ways cannot work together. The moment she chose betrayal, our paths diverged forever like parallel lines that never meet. She chases after worldly vanity and fleeting fame, while my gaze is fixed upon the boundless cosmos of science. There are far greater pursuits awaiting me in this life. I returned every single invitation letter from those prestigious foreign universities unchanged. Then, I went to find Professor Edwin. Professor, I'm not leaving. I'm staying to complete Zhulong with you. Professor Edwin looked at me, his clouded old eyes welling up with tears for the first time. He gave my shoulder a firm pat, saying nothing, yet everything was understood without words. News of my decision soon reached the media, turning down elite global universities. Prodigy Arya chooses to serve her country, the young scientist with the noblest character. My roots are in China. Public opinion erupted instantly. I became an idol in the hearts of countless youth, the brightest patriotic symbol of that era, but I know I'm not that extraordinary. I simply made the choice that was truest to my heart, because here, I have my mentors, my comrades, and the cause I fight for. This is where my real battlefield lies. Sabrina completely failed to secure graduate admission through recommendation, 05, after graduation. That severe disciplinary warning, permanently recorded in her file, became an indelible stain on her job search. No reputable company would hire her. She irrationally blamed me for everything. She believed I'd ruined what should have been her glamorous life. Years of jealousy and resentment ultimately warped her humanity beyond recognition, turning her into a complete lunatic. She began exacting revenge in the most extreme ways imaginable. Using peripheral information she'd gleaned during our former closeness, bits of non-classified details about our research team like the lab's approximate location, headcount estimates, or my personal routines, she pieced together fragments of intelligence. Then she sensationalized these fragments, fabricating outrageous false intelligence that she illegally sold to a third-rate foreign intelligence agency. Money wasn't what she was after, she just wanted to drag me down, to see me ruined. To destroy this national project she could never lay hands on. Her actions were both foolish and fatal. She gravely underestimated the capabilities of our national security apparatus. The moment she made first contact with the foreign agency, an invisible net began silently closing around her. Just as she thought she'd completed the transaction undetected, cold handcuffs snapped around her wrists. I was conducting the final simulation run for the project when Professor Edwin broke the news to me. Hearing the name, Sabrina, still sent an involuntary pang through my chest. Leaking state scientific research data, even non-classified information, could land her in prison during what should have been the prime years of her life. She'd completely ruined herself. Professor Edwin sighed as he took in my conflicted expression. This wasn't your fault, it was her own choice that plunged her into the abyss. I nodded silently, leaving it at that. Indeed, I felt not an ounce of sympathy. Everyone must bear the consequences of their own decisions. I cleared all distractions from my mind. The moment for the final breakthrough had arrived. My entire team and I worked non-stop for 72 hours in the sealed lab. When the massive screen displayed simulation run success rate, 100%, the entire command center erupted in earth-shaking cheers. We did it, in our hands. A groundbreaking project capable of reshaping the world order has come to life. 1 month later. The achievement unveiling ceremony was held at the Great Hall of the People. Camera flashes lit up the venue like daylight. Dressed in a sharp women's suit, I stood beside Professor Edwin as one of the project's core members. Below the stage were journalists and scientists from around the world. My gaze swept across the flashing cameras, taking in faces etched with astonishment, admiration, and complex emotions. Within me, there was only serene composure. Sabrina, do you see this? This is the distance between you and me. You schemed tirelessly to drag me into the mud, while I stand atop heights you'll never reach. Years later, I've taken up Professor Edwin's mantle and officially become the chief scientist of the Candle Dragon follow-up project. That wide-eyed girl who used to follow her mentor around in awe has now grown into a leading figure of China's new generation of scientific research. Greater responsibilities now rest upon my shoulders. Another academic year begins. I returned to my alma mater. This time, I came not as a student, but as an interviewer. I was recruiting the second student for the Department of Ancient Matter Energy Studies. Among a group of nervous yet brilliant candidates, I noticed a boy with clear eyes that held both uncertainty and quiet determination. He's the spitting image of my younger self, gifted yet socially awkward. He stood out like a sore thumb in crowds. I reached out to him. Welcome aboard, kid. Just as Professor Edwin once guided me, I shall now mentor this new prodigy along this solitary yet glorious path. The torch of science must be passed down through generations. Occasionally, I'd catch fragments of conversation about Sabrina during casual reunions with old classmates. Rumor has it that after her release, too ashamed to return home, she settled in an obscure town working as a lowly clerk for meager wages, utterly faded into obscurity. No one remembers anymore that she was once a top student at a university, with a bright future ahead of her. Hearing these words, my heart remained utterly unmoved. The betrayals and resentments that once cut so deep have long been washed away by the tides of busy research years, leaving only faint ripples. I've finally realized that the best revenge against an enemy isn't crushing them underfoot or bringing about their ruin. Rise to heights she could never reach in her lifetime. Forcing her to gaze upon your brilliance and realize the folly and tragedy of her past choices, I stand by the floor-to-ceiling windows on the top floor of the National Laboratory, overlooking the glittering cityscape of the capital. In the distance, a crimson sun slowly ascends from the horizon, painting the sky in magnificent golden hues. Reflected in my eyes is the boundless cosmos of scientific discovery. Who would have thought, that college application that nearly ruined my life, that act of malicious betrayal, ultimately became the twist of fate that set me on the brightest, truest path. Looking back, all those trials and tribulations have turned to dust. What they forged in the end is this medal upon my chest, forever gleaming with brilliance. Story 2. I taught my daughter to be independent and strong, but she insisted that a home couldn't do without a man. In the previous life, when the apocalypse came, the two of us could have lived well. However, she secretly brought my ex-husband's family over, saying that only with them could we protect our food. Pitifully, in the end, they pushed me out together, and I starved to death. When I opened my eyes again, she and I were reborn together before the apocalypse. This time, I will definitely make that family pay back 100-fold or even 1,000-fold. Mom, I'm sorry, a home can't do without a man. If you hadn't refused to serve my dad together with Auntie, I wouldn't have driven you out. I looked at my daughter, whom I had doted on since she was a child, in disbelief. If it weren't for me, she would have starved to death long ago. But in the end, she turned around and chose that man who beat her all day long. Why, before I starved to death, I still couldn't figure out why this was happening. Mom, the weather has been getting more and more abnormal recently. We should stockpile more food and water at home. What if the apocalypse really comes? What? I suddenly looked up and stared at the anxious girl in front of me. For a moment, I couldn't tell whether it was reality or a dream. Mom, don't be in a daze. Hurry up and give me the bank card. It's almost too late. My daughter kept urging me. Seeing that I didn't speak, she directly took the bank card from my bag. I had never guarded against her, and she knew the password of the card. It wasn't until she kept making phone calls to order water that I realized that I had been reborn. Not only that, but my daughter, who had personally pushed me out of the car and left me to starve to death, had also been reborn, too. My ex-husband was a domestic abuser. He would hit people every time he got drunk. Since he couldn't beat me, he would scold and beat my daughter in private. After I found out about this, I didn't hesitate to choose to divorce and took my daughter back to our rural hometown, where I contracted a farm and live-streamed growing crops, raising chickens and ducks. After the divorce, that family never stopped mocking me, saying that without a man, I could only go back to farming and would be begging for food in a few years. What they didn't know was that the organic vegetables I grew were of high price and easy to sell. Coupled with live streaming, I could earn 1,000,000 yuan a year. I felt that I owed my daughter, so I gave her the best of everything, but I never expected to raise an ungrateful person. Lily, are you crazy from reading novels? The weather outside is fine. How could there be an apocalypse? I didn't reveal that I had also been reborn and pretended not to know anything. She used to be very obedient. I don't know if it was because of experiencing the apocalypse, but she was very impatient with me now. You don't understand. I'm doing this for your own good. With these words, she went to buy rice and flour again and asked me if I had any other cards. I went back to the bedroom and took out another card and handed it to her. There was 1,000,000 yuan saved over the years in it. She was so happy when she took the card that she almost jumped up. Seeing her happy, I was also happy, because without me having to do anything myself, someone was stockpiling supplies for me. What she didn't know was that not only had I been reborn, but I had also awakened superpowers and had an extremely large space. 3. I gave her 2 million yuan to stockpile supplies. She didn't expect there to be so much money at home and left excitedly. There were still 15 days until the apocalypse. The warehouse and basement at home were filled with supplies, including rice, noodles, oil, grains, various snacks, and 2 rooms full of water. These supplies, if I were to eat them alone, would be enough for me to live a lifetime. I still didn't take action. Instead, I went to the neighboring city on the pretext of traveling and stockpiled a lot of cold-proof supplies. First, I rented a house as my residence in the early days of the apocalypse. I definitely wouldn't live with that family. The landlord was abroad, so I could renovate it with peace of mind. I was going to live here for at least 2 years and renovate it into a fortress. I installed 2 layers of bullet-proof glass and even 3 layers of doors, which gave me a full sense of security and ensured that no one could break open my door. In the previous life, I died in the 2nd year of the apocalypse. Social order had collapsed, and it was completely impossible to see that the apocalypse would end. Although I hadn't experienced extreme cold, I didn't dare to take the risk. It would be too late to prepare when that day really came. In addition to cold-proof clothes, power generation equipment also had to be prepared completely. The continuous high temperature for 2 years had long cut off the electricity. I really missed the days with air conditioning. I did an experiment. Time stood still in my space. Food was the same when taken out as when put in. Then I started stockpiling all kinds of prepared delicacies. I first went to the high-end restaurant that I had been reluctant to enter before. I still had more than 1 million yuan. Even if I bought all expensive food, it would be enough for me to eat for a lifetime. In addition to high-end delicacies, all kinds of street snacks that I liked couldn't be missing either. I bought 500 servings of each. I could take them out whenever I wanted to eat. The space was really a great thing. It was not until I had almost spent all the money that I stopped buying and went home. There was still a show to be staged there. When I got off the plane and returned to the farm, just as I was about to enter the door, I happened to see my daughter on the phone with my ex-husband. Dad, I've prepared everything. I'm sure we can eat for decades. When those people are starving outside, we'll eat hot pot and make them jealous. I know, if Mom is sensible, let her serve our family. If she's not obedient, drive her out. It's the apocalypse. The strong should have several women. Hearing these words, even though I had experienced it once, my heart was still extremely painful. She was the daughter I had carried in my womb for 10 months and held in my hands. I had lived my whole life for her, but in her heart, there was only that man who beat and scolded her. Before, I comforted myself that in the previous life, it was because there wasn't enough food at home and she was afraid of being beaten, so she had to drive me out. But this time, there was clearly enough food stockpiled, and she still didn't think of me. The key was that after she was reborn, she didn't tell me but told that family. I walked around the village for another round before going home. She had already finished the call and acted as if nothing had happened. Lily, how much have you stockpiled? Take me to have a look. Perhaps because my ex-husband's family hadn't come yet, she still didn't dare to turn against me. She pretended to be very happy and took me to the basement and the warehouse. I had contracted a large area of mountains in order to store fruits. I also built a cold storage. There were many places at home to stockpile food, so she didn't choose to go to my ex-husband but stayed here to stockpile supplies. I had given her nearly 3 million yuan in total. I knew how many supplies could be stockpiled. When I opened the door and saw the full basement, warehouse, and cold storage, I was excited. She had also taken money from that scumbag. Otherwise, it would be impossible to have so many things. In addition to the rice, noodles, oil, grains, and water that I saw when I left, there were also several sets of solar power generation equipment, and even a lot of gasoline and diesel. The woman my ex-husband found later worked at a gas station. Even so, it must have taken a lot of effort to stockpile so much. I was just worrying about how to get these things. I really had to thank that family well. They must really like the big gift I gave them. I couldn't wait to see that day. 5. There were about 3 days left until the apocalypse. My daughter thought the time was almost right and didn't need to pretend anymore. She came to confess to me, "Mom, I know you don't believe it, but I really was reborn. In a few days, the apocalypse will come. You don't know how it will be. Just the two of us can't protect these grains at all." I pretended to be very shocked. "Then what should we do?" My daughter seemed to have expected that I would ask this question and directly replied, "I've already called Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma will come tomorrow. They will definitely protect us well." "No, Lily, have you forgotten how your dad beat you? If there's not enough food, they will definitely drive the two of us out." It seemed to have touched on something, and her emotions became excited. "We've prepared so much food, Dad definitely won't drive me out." My eyebrows twitched. It seemed that there was a story in the previous life that I didn't know. "Lily, you can only choose one between me and your dad. If he comes, I won't, and these things were all bought with my money. I absolutely won't allow them to come." I pretended to be angry. In fact, I already knew that that family would come tomorrow, and I had also bought the plane ticket for tonight. She still didn't dare to confront me head on alone now. She coaxed me again, saying that she would definitely choose me. But then she turned around and went back to her room to call the scumbag to complain, asking them to vent her anger when they came. The reason I knew this was that I had installed a hidden camera in her room. Not only that, but I had installed cameras in every room at home, especially in the warehouse, basement, and cold storage, where I installed a lot of cameras. I wanted to fully enjoy the scene when they saw the gift, seeing that she hung up the phone and went to sleep. I didn't hesitate at all. I put away all the supplies and drove away overnight. 6. After the plane landed, I returned to the renovated house. First, I had a good sleep. After waking up, I took out the high-end meals packed from the 5-star hotel, opened a bottle of red wine, and while tasting the delicious food, I watched the scenes on the surveillance. The scumbag's family had already arrived. In addition to them, there was also the family of the woman he had an affair with. Before the divorce, I really thought he was a domestic abuser. Later, I found out that he deliberately forced me to divorce because he already had a woman outside and wanted to divorce to give that woman a status. The two big families got together and ate and drank in my house, while my good daughter was busy cooking and cleaning, but her face was full of smiles. Some people really can't be tamed. I'm a person who will take revenge for every grievance, immediately. I posted on the internet about how my daughter used my money to stockpile supplies and then drove me out instead. Thanks to these years of live streaming, I had tens of millions of fans on all platforms. As soon as this was posted, it became a hot topic, and the whole network condemned that family. The apocalypse had quietly arrived. There were heavy rains across the country, but the electricity and the internet hadn't been cut off yet. Everyone was trapped at home, scrolling through videos. And the attention was getting more and more. The incident fermented quickly. The scumbag's family soon saw it. There were a lot of people scolding them online, and many people called to scold them. I projected the surveillance at home onto the wall, took out a plate of watermelon as a dessert after the meal, and heard them swearing over there. "Dad, don't worry. This heavy rain won't stop. The apocalypse has already come. Let them be proud for a few more days. When they can't even afford to eat in a few days, they'll be crying." Hearing my daughter's voice comforting that family, I chuckled. My dear daughter, does she really think that everything will be quiet down when the apocalypse comes? No, this is just the beginning. 7. The apocalypse really came. It rained globally, and the hot topic was soon replaced by the flood. There were floods and distress signals everywhere. In the previous life, I noticed something was wrong. Afraid that the country couldn't rescue us due to the national flood, I braved the heavy rain to harvest the vegetables in the field and stockpile food. That's why after the apocalypse completely arrived, my daughter and I had enough food and clothing. If she hadn't taken the initiative to bring that family over, the food I stockpiled would have been enough for the two of us to eat for 2 or 3 years. After adapting to this world, we could completely save ourselves again. This time, I had enough food to last for several lifetimes and didn't have to worry about food. I always paid attention to the online trends. The rain came too quickly, there were distress signals everywhere, and some people were bartering. If a family ran out of food, those nearby would also take care of them and encourage each other to wait for this disaster to end. Alas, I sighed softly, how I wished it was all a dream, but unfortunately, it wasn't. In the community group, someone was also calling for help. A few days of heavy rain had eaten up all the food stockpiled at home. Does anyone have any rice? I'll buy it at a higher price. I'll pay 100 yuan for 1 jean. Adults can hold on for a while, but the child is too young and keeps crying from hunger. I'll pay 1,000 yuan to buy it. Rice, millet, anything that can fill the stomach will do. The water has risen to the 3rd floor, and the rain still hasn't stopped. When will this rain stop? Is the apocalypse really coming? I had enough food, but I couldn't help. Otherwise, it would bring me endless hidden dangers. Having experienced one life, I knew too well the evil of human nature. There was a knock on the door in the corridor. Someone was crying for help. There was also a knock on my door. I turned on the surveillance at the door and saw a young man and a young woman smashing my door continuously. Seeing that I didn't open the door, they kicked the door angrily and then went to knock on the opposite door. Since they couldn't open my door, they no longer paid attention. Instead, I turned on the surveillance at home. Those people at home were still eating and drinking. It was still my good daughter taking care of their whole family. In just over 10 days. She had been worn down to look terrible. After they finished eating, I saw her go back to her room and pick up the phone. I had a feeling, and soon my phone rang. Lily, Mom, you should believe what I said now, right? The apocalypse has really come. I'm worried about you being alone outside. As you saw before, I stockpiled enough food for our whole family to eat for a lifetime. You come back quickly. She spoke nicely, but in fact, her face was full of viciousness. If I hadn't been watching, I would really have thought she was doing it for my own good. I said I will never live with them, drive them away, and I'll come back right away. Hearing my refusal, her face became even more ferocious, but the words she said were still gentle. Mom, it's the apocalypse now. Letting Dad come is also for your own good, otherwise, you'll starve to death outside in no time. I'd rather starve to death than go back. Perhaps my repeated refusals angered her. She hung up the phone and threw the phone out casually. Bitch, it's all because of you running around. Otherwise, why would I have to do all this work? When I find you, I'll definitely throw you to the old men in the village. It won't be useful even if you kneel down and beg me. Looking at my daughter in the camera who was like an evil spirit and listening to her vicious words, I really doubted that she was not my daughter but my enemy. But with that face so similar to mine, there was absolutely no way she was switched at birth. Well, it's just as well. I won't have any more misgivings. There are more and more people on the internet desperately seeking food. Judging by the time, their retribution is coming. 8. The heavy rainfall across the country has continued for a month. The city I'm in is still in a relatively high inland area, but there is still a flood. The water has risen to the 7th floor. This building has a total of 36 floors. I rented a large flat on the top floor, and there are only 2 households. Opposite lives a young couple. They were kind-hearted before and let people into their house, and now there are 3 families living there. Through the hidden cameras in the corridor, I can see that quarrels and conflicts occur from time to time, and the day of bloodshed is approaching. Of course, many people have also come to knock on my door, and some even tried to chop the door with an axe in the middle of the night. But they couldn't even break through the first layer of the door. The water and electricity supply were cut off a few days ago. It's pitch black everywhere, and the heavy rain still hasn't stopped. The remaining order is also on the verge of collapse. Even though I've experienced it once, it's still very depressing. I took out a hot pot set and cooked a spicy hot pot to adjust my mood. Hot pot makes people happy, especially since the good show I've been waiting for has finally started. In the surveillance, a group of people broke into the house with knives and were threatening them to hand over the food. To enjoy the show, I specifically installed a hidden solar battery to ensure a stable power supply for every camera in the house. You've stored so much food, hand over half of it, or don't blame us for being rude. The order has just started to break down. These people haven't killed anyone yet, so they can still talk to them properly. If it were 3 months later, they would directly attack people as soon as they came and wouldn't bother to talk politely. My scumbag ex-husband didn't hesitate to push my daughter out, saying that he would give his daughter to them to please them, and he just begged them not to hit them. My daughter was crying and begging over there, but no one in the scumbag's family paid any attention to her. Those people didn't dare to hurt anyone, they just wanted food. One group of people stayed upstairs to control the scumbag's family, and the other group went downstairs to look for food. Don't go down, there's no food downstairs. The mistress tried to stop them. It wasn't the food she was afraid of, she was afraid that the oil they had stockpiled at home would be discovered. In order to stockpile that oil, they sold their house and spent a large sum of money. As for food, they could still find ways to get it for free, but there was definitely no chance for fuel. The state's information is much more well-informed than that of ordinary people. The first thing to do when they notice something wrong is to control the fuel. After all, these will be non-renewable in the future. As soon as she tried to stop them, those people's eyes lit up, knowing that there must be something good downstairs. I swirled a piece of tripe in the hot pot, savored it carefully, and looked forward to the next part of the show. I turned on the camera leading to the basement and saw that those people quickly found the door to the basement. They chopped off the lock in a few strokes and pushed open the door. What came into view was a stack of rice. The apocalypse hasn't been going on for a long time. They still have some stored food and haven't used the stockpiled food yet. Those people were very excited when they saw the rice. They hadn't had a full meal for a long time and rushed to carry the rice. No, boss, look at these pictures. There were supposed to be rooms full of rice, noodles, oil, and grains. Why are there only these at the door, and the inside is empty? After eating a piece of fat beef, I raised the corners of my lips, feeling in a great mood, and took out a box of boneless chicken feet. I didn't just accuse that family on the internet and make them be condemned. My main purpose was to expose the stored food. Perhaps at the beginning, everyone's attention was on the scumbag's family. After suffering from hunger, they would remember the stockpiled food in the pictures. When I took the photos, I hadn't put away the things yet, and it was full of food inside. Besides the basement, I also took pictures of the other places where the food was stored. Because of the live streaming, many people on the internet knew my address, and they would definitely come to rob it. If they found that the food was gone, they would never let the scumbag's family go. 9. Come on, there are 2 other places. Hurry up and do it, in case someone else gets there first. At this time, they still thought that someone had taken the food in advance. They carried the rice bags piled at the door upstairs and went to the other 2 places. When I was live streaming before, I showed my fans the warehouse and the cold storage. These 2 places were no secret, and they quickly found them. The things inside were already in my space, so naturally, they couldn't find any food. Boss, we found the oil barrels, but they're all empty. There's nothing inside. I smiled. In order not to let the scumbag's family notice anything amiss, I really put in a lot of effort. I sucked out the fuel barrel by barrel, but I didn't take the barrels, since they couldn't find anything. They walked back angrily, kicked open the door, and rushed towards the scumbag's family. Tell me, where did you hide the food? It was obvious to anyone that the scumbag ex-husband had the right to speak in the family, so they directly hit him. I stared at the scene in the surveillance with shining eyes. That's exactly how he punched me in the face back then. Now that he's being beaten, I wonder how he feels. You're not allowed to hit my dad. The food is in the warehouse. I'll give you half of it. Take it and leave quickly. Even though she had been pushed out before, my daughter still directly rushed forward and stood in front of her ex-husband. I know what she's thinking. She must be afraid that her ex-husband will be beaten to death and that no one will be able to protect her in the future. But why doesn't she open her eyes and see that if that man was capable, how could he have let people come to his door without saying a word and pushed his own daughter out first? Slap. The other person slapped my daughter in the face, knocking her to the ground directly, and blood oozed from the corner of her mouth. After my daughter was knocked down, those people came to beat her ex-husband again. All the punches and kicks he had given me back then were now being returned to him. Mom, please save me. He curled up on the ground, being beaten like a dog. Instead of resisting, he called for his parents-in-law to help. The mother-in-law always doted on this son the most. She threw a tantrum and broke free from the person holding her back, and then rushed towards those people. Whoever dares to hit my son, I'll fight you to the death. Get out of the way. If you dare to touch a single hair on my body, I'll call the police and let them arrest you. She used to like to rely on her age and act shamelessly everywhere. If anyone dared to touch her, she would fall to the ground and shout that she was being beaten, and in the end, it would just end without any consequences. she used this trick again this time. But it's the apocalypse now, and no one will put up with her. Call the police. Ha ha ha. Even if we beat you, you old witch, to death today, the police won't come. These people didn't put up with her at all and directly punched and kicked her. I don't know if they had encountered such a stubborn old person before, but they vented all their resentment on the parents-in-law after beating them for a while. Those people originally planned to leave with the food they had searched out. When they picked up the rice bags, they felt something was wrong. They opened the bags and saw that there was no rice inside, but stones. I took a sip of green tea. From the very beginning, I didn't intend to leave them even a single grain of food. 10. The other party was already angry after finding the empty basement and warehouse. When they saw that the few bags of rice they had finally found were actually full of stones, they were even more furious. You actually dared to play tricks on me, beat them up. When they were hitting people before, they held back a little out of consideration, but now, they were so angry that they were hitting them with all their might, and no one in the room escaped. Amid the cries for mercy, I clearly heard a cracking sound, the sound of a bone breaking, in the surveillance. The scumbag passed out. It turned out that his leg was broken. When those people were about to continue beating them, there was a noise outside, and the people from the village had come. They were still a bit afraid in their hearts and didn't dare to beat them to death. When they saw the outsiders, they ran away with the food they had searched out from the refrigerator and the kitchen, in order not to be discovered in advance. I left a generator for them. I had eaten a bit too much. So I got up and moved around a bit, and then continued to watch the surveillance footage. The people from the village came. They first showed some concern for them, but soon these people looked around, searching for the remaining food in the house. Compared to the city, there was more food stockpiled in the village, and they had just run out of food when my daughter was stockpiling food. She didn't hide it from anyone, and a lot of it was collected from the village, so everyone knew that they had food. Soon, the little food they had left was also taken away. The whole family lay in the house wailing loudly, and it was almost evening before they regained some strength. Looking at the mess all over the place and their injuries, instead of finding a way to survive, they started to shift the blame on each other. The mistress grabbed my daughter's hair with one hand, her face full of malice. You little bitch, tell me, where did you put those things? The others' gazes also focused on my daughter. They had also given her all their wealth to stockpile food at that time. They checked the stockpiled food via video every day, so they didn't go in and check after they arrived. They never expected that they had been tricked. My daughter begged in pain. It was all there. I clearly put it there. I don't know where it went. She couldn't imagine that I had also been reborn. Not only that, but I had also obtained a huge space. It must be this little bitch who hid it. I said why she was so kind to let us come. It's her and her mother who are up to something. That woman is no good. Tisk tsk. They only thought of me at this moment. My daughter struggled to sit up and started shouting and cursing. Yes, she must have taken it. I said why she would be willing to leave. It turns out she stole the things, Dad. You must catch her back and get all the things back. I bought you a lot of good cigarettes and wine, Pa. The scumbag spat and slapped her in the face. If it weren't for you colluding with her from the inside, how could she have taken these things quietly on her own? Those supplies couldn't be taken away just by finding an ordinary car. It would take several large trucks. My daughter kowtowed frantically to show her loyalty, took out her phone, and called me. Although the electricity was cut off, there was still a network signal. I smiled and answered the phone. I had been waiting for this moment. Mom, did you take all the food I stockpiled? How could you be so vicious? I'm your daughter. Do you want to kill me? She still didn't have any evidence, but she directly shifted the blame to me. In her heart, she had never regarded me as her mother. My heart was completely cold. I took it. I admitted it openly. Just wanting to see them go crazy and be unable to do anything to me. Sure enough, on the surveillance screen, I saw the ferocious expressions of that big family. You bitch, return the things immediately, or I'll definitely kill you. Call the police. Call the police now and arrest her. Scarlet, you'll die a miserable death. The more they cursed over there, the brighter the smile on my face became. I hung up the phone and sent my daughter a video invitation. 11. I was hungry after watching the excitement all afternoon. In the evening, I planned to have a simple meal. There was a lobster packed from a 5-star hotel, casually paired with some steak and foie gras, and a bowl of bright red and shiny streaky pork. Eating those alone wasn't really satisfying. I pointed the camera at the dishes on the table. Since I was in a good mood today, I would give them a food live streaming show. In the surveillance footage, I clearly saw those people swallowing their saliva. All the food at home had been stolen. They had been beaten severely and hadn't eaten for a day. It was no wonder they were hungry. Aya, why do you bitch, get to eat my food? Where are you? Give you one day to crawl back, or I'll kill you, Scarlet, you bitch. They started a new round of cursing, which made me feel even better and increased my appetite. Ella, your family must have put in a lot of effort to stockpile that oil. Right, I can enjoy the cool air from the air conditioner now, and I have to thank you for that. Without the fuel they had stockpiled, I really wouldn't have dared to use electricity without limit. Individuals are not allowed to buy so much oil. I didn't report their family at that time because I was afraid of alerting them and missing out on this good show today. My words enraged Ella. She rushed over like crazy, threw the phone on the ground hard, and then stepped on it a few times as if she wasn't satisfied. Lily, tell me where she's hiding. If you don't say it, I'll kill you right now. My daughter seemed to be scared silly. She didn't react until she was hit several times. I don't know. I really don't know. She was crying uncontrollably, but instead of getting sympathy, she was beaten again, just as it seemed that her grandparents were going to beat her to death. The scumbag stepped in to stop them. Mom, she can't die now. That bitch was willing to leave the house with nothing but her daughter back then. I don't believe she can just leave Lily alone. Yes, Dad, give me another chance. I will definitely ask for Mom's address and take you, Grandpa, and Grandma to find her. The people in the room looked at each other, and greed was written all over everyone's face. They saw the food I was eating. If they found me, those would be theirs. I snorted coldly. They were really daydreaming. They would never be able to find me in their lives. The phone rang again. This time, I didn't answer it. I directly pulled out the SIM card and threw it away, letting them know that it was enough for them to see that I was doing well. Otherwise, the next time they made a video call, they might record it and post it on the internet, and then I would be in danger. Those people called from several different phones. When they found that I didn't answer, they were so angry that they wanted to beat my daughter again. Unfortunately, they didn't have the chance this time because there were more outsiders coming. The messy business of my family had spread like wildfire on the internet before, and many people knew that there was food stockpiled in the house. People came in groups. Every time someone came and found that there was no food, they would take their anger out on them. They were beaten 6 times in just 2 days. Finally, they couldn't stand it anymore and fled overnight. I saw on the surveillance that some people came and left again. Since there was no more excitement to watch, I didn't pay attention anymore. The heavy rain still didn't stop. According to the previous life, this rain lasted for a whole year and wouldn't stop in a short time. The state took action to establish bases, and many people went to the bases. In addition, some people chose to go out to look for food and started shopping for free, looting. A year later, the heavy rain stopped, the temperature dropped, and there was a sharp drop in temperature overnight. The extreme cold arrived. I had been enjoying delicious food and drinks every day and felt a bit bored. I went out a few times with the people in the building and managed to get a lot of supplies that I had forgotten to stockpile before. I thought this was how my life would go on, and I would never see this family again. However, I unexpectedly saw them on the street. 12. After the state established the bases, although the apocalypse hadn't ended, the order gradually stabilized, and there was no need to be afraid of being robbed when going out on the street. If anyone dared to do evil things, they would be executed immediately. But entering the base didn't mean being saved either. A large amount of work was required to exchange for food. Some people who couldn't work had to go to the street and take their chances to see if they could find some food. I deliberately changed cities when I left, but I didn't expect to see them here. They recognized me first. To be precise, they came begging right in front of me. Please have mercy and show some compassion for this disabled person. Scarlet, you're actually here. Mason's legs were broken and he couldn't stand or walk without treatment. He was kneeling on the ground begging. Looking at the person in front of me who was gnashing his teeth on his knees, the corners of my lips curled into a faint smile. Congratulations, you found me. I still remember the words he said about wanting to kill me. I wonder if he can get up now. Mason crawled towards me like a madman, looking deranged. But he couldn't even touch my shoes. He was just yelling and raging impotently. Mom, not only Mason, but Lily was also there. I hadn't seen her for a year. The lively and lovely girl from before was long gone. If she hadn't called me Mom, I wouldn't have realized that the woman in front of me, who looked over 40 years old, was my daughter. A trace of hatred flashed in her eyes when she saw me, and she quickly knelt in front of me. Mom, I've finally found you. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I won't choose Dad. I'll only choose you. Mom, don't you love me the most? Take me with you. Seeing her crying with tears all over her face, I felt nothing in my heart. When she begged me to take her away, the scumbag stopped his rampage and pleaded desperately, Scarlett, I was wrong, it was my fault, please forgive me, Ella is already dead. From now on, our family will live a good life. Oh right, I know you don't like my mom, she's also dead. There's no one to bother our family of 3 anymore. Mom, let's go home quickly. I'm so hungry and I really want to eat the food you cook. I really underestimated their shamelessness and self-righteousness. They were just daydreaming. Get lost. I don't know you. I was too lazy to talk to these two any further. I turned around to leave, but I heard Lily shouting frantically behind me. Ha ha ha, I know, you were reborn too, right? That's why you gave me money to stockpile food and then secretly took those grains away to get back at me. Her crazy laughter attracted a lot of people to look over. I stood there, turned around, and looked at her without saying a word. Mom, take me with you, or, I sneered, or what, everyone, come and see, she has food, a lot of food, she's a reborn person who stockpiled a lot of food in advance, enough for her to eat for several lifetimes. Everyone, hurry up and rob her. She thought she could get back at me like this. Unfortunately, no one moved after she finished speaking, although I didn't expect them to find me. I had already taken precautions, even though I had a lot of food. I still insisted on going out to find food. I thought I owed my daughter, so I gave her the best of everything, but I never expected to raise an ungrateful person. The stockpiled food was all with that family. How could it be with me? It was Lily and the scumbag who exposed themselves like this, and they were despised by many people who spat at them and threw stones at them. I turned around and left. We wouldn't meet again in this life. 13. Epilogue. I learned about Mason's family from the team I went out to find food with. After they fled from home overnight, they were recognized and people came asking for food. Since they couldn't produce it, they were beaten. After being beaten several times, the old couple couldn't hold on and died on the way. After many twists and turns, Lily exchanged her body for a place to live. After moving in, there were constant quarrels because of the lack of food. Ella's family wanted to drive Mason and Lily out to find food, and they were strangled to death by Mason with a rope at night. He spared Ella's life and exchanged her for some food. With Lily constantly exchanging her body for food, they managed to survive. Later, when the state established the bases, the two of them joined and migrated with the large group to the city where I was. They had only been here for a few days when they met me. After they went back, they told everyone that I had food. Not only did no one believe them, but they were also driven out of the base. These two people were left homeless, and they both starved to death on the street a few days later, just like me in the previous life. They clearly had a chance to survive but were starved to death. I wonder if she felt any regret when she died. Story 2, my zombie makeup video accidentally went viral. After work, the big boss cornered me against a wall. Honey, I've been looking for you. Below his collarbone was a rotting patch of corpse blemish. 01. When the zombie virus broke out, my husband was calmly grinding coffee. I was so frustrated, I almost smacked him. Did you secretly go out and bite people behind my back? Timothy looked hurt, his already purplish face turning even bluer. I thought you were sneaking around behind my back. The lockdown alarm blared in the distance, and the bloody scenes on TV were making my head buzz. Timothy brought over coffee and massaged my shoulders. What are you afraid of, honey? We're both zombies. They can't do anything to us. I chuckled on the surface but my legs were trembling secretly. Timothy was definitely a zombie, but he didn't know that I was just pretending. 02. I started pretending to be a zombie 6 months ago. Back then, I was a pretty obscure streamer. So obscure that my colleagues couldn't understand why I had been with the company for 3 years. That day, My zombie makeup video accidentally went viral. Among the many private messages, I noticed a cute figure. Sis, are you a zombie too? I found this little brother quite interesting, mainly because the figure he flaunted on his homepage was just my type, especially the volcano-shaped blue birthmark under his collarbone. It added a certain charm. Yes, yes, I nodded frantically. Brother, I am too. I curled up the corners of my mouth, giving a devilish smile. I knew you were one too. Hurry up and reveal your true intentions for messaging me late at night. Do you want me to catch some rabbits for you to eat? Taking the innocent route. Sister has 2 white rabbits at home. I can give them to you. That's so like me. From then on, I and the brother chatted passionately. By the 3rd day, we were calling each other hubby and wifey. I am a cultured streamer who never flirts with fans, except the handsome ones. 03. Then, I was reported by a colleague. I was so obscure. Why would you report me? I will never be happy again. After work, the big boss called me to his office. I thought, is firing me such a big deal that it troubles the boss? Looking at his sculpted profile, my DNA stirred fiercely. I had been admiring him from a distance for so many years, never expecting him to be so handsome up close. That was the first time Timothy and I talked face to face. He stared at me silently, his long legs crossed, lazily leaning against the floor-to-ceiling window. We stared at each other for 10 minutes. Boss, isn't that pose tiring? I realized something was off with his complexion. Boss, I just wanted to give the fans a little treat. What, you gave it to someone else too? His complexion seemed even more off. As I looked up trying to recall the brothers and little brothers from my career, Timothy had already approached me. He cornered me against the wall, his eyes suddenly bursting with the light of a puppy dog. Honey, I've been looking for you for a long time. Up close, I finally understood. The blue mark under his collarbone was a rotting patch of corpse blemish. He wasn't joking. He really was a zombie. I advise everyone, do not fall in love online. You never know what species you're connecting with through the internet. 04. Extreme hunger pulled me out of my memories. The lockdown in the neighborhood had lasted all day. Zombies were howling in packs downstairs, and I had eaten all the snacks hidden at home. My stomach was so empty it was frightening. Tears of regret slid from the corners of her eyes, while Timothy happily watched Resident Evil in the living room. When we got married, that dog of a man made such sweet promises to me. I've never met anyone with my constitution before. We two are the only zombies in the world. You and I are a match made in heaven, and now he pulls this stunt. I feel like murdering my husband. Baby, what's wrong? You look so down. Should I go out and grab a few people for you? Timothy said as he flexed his fingers, his eyes glowing with excitement. Let's not talk about that. We're supposed to be civilized zombies. I quickly interjected, crossing my arms, although Timothy is a zombie. He has never bitten anyone. His diet consisted of live chickens and ducks, but we've run out of ducks and rabbits at home, he said with tearful eyes. You wouldn't consider eating our corgi, would you? Dum-dum, our corgi, was shivering under the sofa at that moment. Thanks, but no thanks, I'm not eating that. If you're really hungry, you could take a bite out of me, Timothy offered, showing his arm with its well-defined muscles. However, at this moment, he had lost all appeal to me. Eat. Eat your head. I'm craving hot pot, barbecue, crayfish, fried chicken, pizza, spicy chicken feet. I couldn't wait any longer. While Timothy was asleep, I planned to sneak out to get some food supplies. As soon as I moved, the mattress bounced, and Timothy pulled me back, rubbing his face against mine in a drowsy state. Where's my wife going? Let's cuddle. Zombies have very sensitive senses and can detect many things that humans cannot. Just as I was trying to break free from his embrace, Timothy suddenly perked up and whispered, "Something's coming." His ears twitched, probably hearing something. Dum-Dum also crawled out from under the bed and started barking towards the window. I heard nothing and could only look in the direction of his gaze. The scenery outside the window, it was as calm as ever. Suddenly, a round shadow appeared on the window. It looked like a human head hanging upside down. I clutched Timothy's arm tightly. The head began to forcefully slam against the window. Bang, 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 the window frame vibrated rhythmically. Are zombies coming over? I hid behind Timothy. I didn't expect them to arrive so quickly. Don't be scared, wife. It's not a zombie, Timothy reassured me. protecting me with one hand and reaching for the window handle with the other. Oh no! I trembled in fear. When he opened the window, a soccer ball appeared, swinging feebly in the air. I think this is a distress signal. There's a 6-year-old girl living upstairs. Her parents are always out and leave her locked at home. Could it be that the child upstairs ran out of food? Possibly. But we also have no food left, Timothy said, craning his neck. Little sister, we've run out of food too. Okay, came a soft, weak voice from upstairs. Wait, I can give her a little. I remembered some snacks hidden behind the wardrobe and pulled them out. I bought these because I was feeling peckish. This is all I have left. Sob, my wife is really kind and cute. Timothy said, kissing my face 3 times. Stop kissing. Take it before I change my mind. Timothy took the snacks and looked out the window. We can just tie it to the soccer ball, right? Just as he reached out, a figure roared and grabbed his arm tightly. Our screams overlapped. Me, what's happening? A zombie got in. Him, my biceps hurt so much. My husband, a zombie, has just dragged another zombie into our home. What use do I have for this husband? The child who was just talking to us upstairs has now mutated. Her hair is disheveled, her eyes cloudy, and she's howling while staring at me. Timothy is desperately pulling on the hand of the small zombie, his body twisting like a pretzel. Honey, I didn't realize you were so flexible, I comment from 3 meters away, watching the scene unfold. Honey, do zombies fight each other too? Timothy, grimacing in pain, replies, I don't know, besides you, this is the first zombie I've encountered. Can you beat it? Can I not beat a child? As it turns out, he couldn't. Timothy is knocked to the ground, and the small zombie starts rushing towards me. I quickly dive into a wardrobe and firmly shut the door. Outside, the sounds of a scuffle erupt. After a while, it finally goes quiet outside, and I cautiously crack open the door. Honey, sob sob sob. I was braced for a scene of devastation, but to my relief, both the people and the dog are intact. Hey, Timothy makes a silly face at me. Don't be scared, honey. I immediately stop my sniffling and tears. He's so adorable. What happened? The little girl, who just a moment ago had grown fangs and claws, is now back to her cute, clueless self, playing with the dumb dog. Timothy sits down cross-legged beside me, stroking his chin. Just now, she bit my arm, and then she reverted back. I lift his arm to see, and indeed, there are 2 small dark blood holes. Could your blood be the antidote to the virus, I wonder? That would be strange indeed. Although Timothy is a zombie, he never goes berserk or bites people. It turns out his blood has a special effect. For a moment, my mind races with terrifying scenarios of Timothy being taken away by a biochemical research facility, kept for research, subjected to endless tests and blood draws. Until all his blood is drained, that would be great. Timothy laughs obliviously. I throw a chestnut at him, grate my foot, keep quiet and don't dare tell anyone. I quickly hand 2 lollipops to the girl upstairs. Sweetie, what's your name? Sister, I'm Lauren. Lauren, you mustn't tell anyone about what happened today. Okay, sister. With the bribe complete, I feel satisfied. Just as I'm feeling smug, there's a knock at the door. Who is it? Timothy goes to answer. And I squeeze his hand, signaling him to be careful. It's okay, he reassures me and goes to open the door. A man's voice comes from outside. Delivery, the neighborhood is locked down. Where did this delivery come from? I rush to the door to stop Timothy from opening it, but I'm a step too late. The person outside has already squeezed in, and he really is a delivery guy. He looks young and naive. What's the matter? Timothy asks gently, worried the boy might be in trouble. I was delivering when I got locked out. I have nowhere to go. The boy's eyes dart around, fixating on the ground. We do have a spare room. Lauren runs out of the house, sees the boy, and immediately hides behind the dog. Before I can react, the boy's voice turns into a roar. He has mutated. WTF. I quickly spring into action. Timothy steps in front of me. This boy's attacks are even more ferocious than the girl's. I rush Lauren into another room and shut the door. I went to the storage room and grabbed a baseball bat, charging forward with it in hand. Despite the zombie's strong ability to recover, I managed to force it out the door. Timothy was forcefully pushing the zombie, It seemed like it didn't intend to bite, just continuously barking at the sky with its mouth wide open. Come on, bite me, bro, just one bite. Are you dumb? Doesn't your arm hurt? While they were fighting, I seized the moment to open the security door, catching my glance. Timothy forcefully pushed the zombie out. Just as the door was about to close, suddenly, the zombie turned back into a boy, kneeling on the ground, sobbing, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was just too hungry. I quickly checked Timothy for any exposed bites. Nothing. This is a characteristic of this type of zombie virus. It only lasts for a few minutes, otherwise, they're indistinguishable from normal people. The boy explained through his sobs. Day 1 of the apocalypse. I sat in the living room with 3 zombies, watching the cartoon about the wolf catching sheep. Now I understand, the infected only lose their sanity briefly and recover very quickly, Timothy said, disappointed that his own blood wasn't the cure. I was relieved. I just timed it, about 20 minutes. The boy, Victor, felt very guilty about what had happened and shared everything he knew with us. If you transform more than 3 times, your body will severely degenerate and eventually you'll die. So, you guys are in danger then. Actually, the transformation can be controlled by will, but I just came into contact with some blood in the corridor, so, that means blood makes you more prone to frenzy. He spoke as if he wasn't a zombie himself. Victor nodded, falling silent. He didn't have many chances left. Timothy decided to implement a home quarantine policy. There were 2 more rooms in the house. Lauren and Victor could each stay in one, using the supplies delivered. Until an official cure was developed, Timothy whispered in my ear, anyway, we're both zombies. We're not scared, right? He had a proud little smile. Haha, you think you're so superior. That night, we sat around the dining table eating boxed meals, because I told Timothy to pretend we were a married couple. I finally had food to eat. I was enjoying my meal when Timothy quietly moved next to me. Baby, look, don't we look like a family of 4? He propped his cheeks with his hands, staring happily at the opposite side. According to Victor, he also has a sister about the same age, so he gets along well with Lauren, creating a really warm scene. How could I possibly give birth to such a big son? I paused with my fork in hand, afraid of exposing our identities. I hadn't told Timothy yet. We'll have one in the future anyway. Timothy playfully poked my arm, his gray-blue eyes cloudy and confused, as if he was drunk. Wait, he really was drunk. What did you drink? I was thirsty just now, had a couple of sips of water. It was clearly Chinese baijiu. That was supposed to be a delivery for someone else. Victor scratched his head. What happens if a zombie gets drunk? Timothy, ranting about going out to fight zombies. Big brother, stop messing around. You're a zombie too. There are 2 zombies sitting in your house. I dragged Timothy into the room, pushed him onto the bed, and covered him with a blanket. Finally, he quieted down. Timothy wrapped himself up like a cocoon, rolling over to my side. Wife, I'm here to serve you in bed. I punched him. The apocalypse is upon us and you're still goofing around. He just laughed mischievously. Facing the window, he exclaimed, oh world, please don't end yet. I've just married and haven't enjoyed it enough yet. Does this man look like a cold and aloof CEO at all? Officially, the quarantine period is set for 2 weeks. During this time, no boxed meals can be delivered. In the residents group chat, someone is gathering volunteers to stock up on supplies at the supermarket in the courtyard. I was the first to volunteer, announcing, my husband will go. Timothy looked at me with a plaintive expression. Baby, aren't you worried I might get hurt? I immediately clung to him. Honey, stock up on more supplies so we can prosper. And remember, Lauren and Victor are still growing. If you really don't want to go, I will. I'm not afraid of getting hurt. Timothy surrendered. I can't win with you. Victor wanted to join as well. I escorted them to the entrance of the apartment block. The main door was tightly shut, the glass covered with panels that blocked the view from outside. It was then I realized, apart from us, everyone else was extremely tense, wrapped in various protective gear, ready for anything. The building manager reminded us, currently, it's hard to tell who might be infected, so naturally, everyone is a bit more cautious. Among the volunteers, there were a few familiar faces, especially the man from the 3rd floor, who was particularly noticeable. He was wielding a large axe, his eyes red. I heard he had already killed several zombies. People say those zombies can revert back to normal. Doesn't that mean he's committing murder? That's terrifying. I patted Timothy's back, reminding him to stay safe and not to reveal his identity. The building manager opened the glass door. Only one last rolling door separated us from the outside world. From our current view, the courtyard was empty, no zombies in sight. Suddenly, I felt uneasy. No, I have to go with you. I grasped Timothy's hand tightly. Are you worried about me, wife? I'm afraid you won't pick the snacks I like. Yesterday, the zombies seen around the building had now vanished. Probably they had returned to their normal state and gone home. The supermarket was just inside the quarantine zone, near the community entrance. It took only 5 minutes to walk there. We actually made it there safely. As soon as we entered the supermarket, our group scattered in a flurry. At this point, whoever was slow would end up with nothing. Grab more drinking water first. I kicked a shopping cart to Victor and then dashed to the instant and frozen food section. I filled the cart with large packs of instant noodles and ready-to-eat hot pots, batteries, lighters, flashlights. The supermarket owner was nowhere to be found, so we would have to pay him later. I moved as fast as lightning, while Timothy was calm as a chicken. Wife, this packaging is so pretty. Wife, do you need? Indeed. My worries were not unfounded. My shopping cart was stacked like a mountain. And so was Victor's. I patted Victor on the shoulder, proud. You are such a good boy, much more useful than your dad. Nothing. We pushed our carts to the supermarket entrance and turned back to check on the safety of the others. In total, 7 people came out last. Besides us 3, there were the man with the axe, a young man, and a couple. The man with the axe had grabbed a lot of canned water and compressed biscuits. The couple didn't have much food. They came from the direction of the pharmacy section. The young man seemed inactive. Let's not worry about him. We should go first. The girl in the couple seemed quite scared. Her boyfriend pulled her towards the exit. I grew nervous, ready to run at any moment. Brother, are you still there? Timothy leaned forward to check. The shelves were empty. From the shadows of the gaps, a squeak sound was heard. I had a bad premonition. Run. In the darkness, a fierce roar exploded. Rows of shelves toppled over like dominoes, mixed with the young man's screams. In the shadows, there were at least a dozen murky figures. Timothy quickly pushed me out by the shoulder and then flung the shopping cart out as well. He patted my calf. Honey, run. I staggered a few steps, feeling the shadows around me blur into obscurity. Once we found a place to hide, we looked back only to find Timothy and Victor had disappeared into the swarm of zombies. 17, Timothy, Victor. I called their names softly. The girl in the couple quickly pulled at me. Don't shout, it'll provoke them. The guy leaned in. These are full-blown zombies. They've lost all humanity and are very aggressive. They seem to know a lot about zombies. Seeing my stunned expression, they introduced each other. This is William, a biologist, my husband, and this is Mila, a biochemist, my wife. They smiled at each other, their eyes almost sparkling with sweetness. These cases started appearing a month ago. We were originally doing research in the university lab, and went home to get some things when our neighborhood was quarantined. Mila said, patting my shoulder, don't worry, those who are just infected usually aren't attacked by full-blown zombies. William also gave me a knowing look. It turned out they had figured it out already. They should all be able to come back, muttered William, outside. Some of the not fully transformed infected turned back into humans and ran away. The others, losing their targets, halted in their tracks. They can't get through. The voice of Axe's brother eerily emerged from behind. Before any of us could react, a grenade, thrown from his hand, exploded. You son of a, 18. The explosion stunned us momentarily. In the firelight, the zombies that were idly wandering just moments ago were now groaning in pain. Fortunately, the explosion was in an open space and didn't damage the walls of the buildings. Ha ha ha, I knew it. Only fire can deal with these creatures. Axe's brother laughed maniacally. My husband just helped you close the door. Did you lose your conscience to a dog? If it weren't for the two holding me back, I really would have fought him to the death. They've been bitten. They're monsters now. They're just infected. Sick. You're the real monster, little girl. Surviving is what's most important. Axe's brother gave a cold laugh and ran out. Why are there always these types of characters in post-apocalyptic survival? Husband, sob, Victor, Sob sob. William and Mila dragged me back to the entrance of the apartment building, with 2 carts of supplies. Axe brother was already out of sight. I looked at the empty yard, feeling utterly despondent. Wasn't this supposed to be a Lauren zombie story? Where's my husband? Where is he? Honey, honey, Timothy's teasing voice rang out. Am I hallucinating from grief? I'm back. No, it really was him. 19. In the distance, Timothy and Victor rode a small electric scooter out of the flames and stopped right beside us. I was so happy I was at a loss for words, looking at Timothy, then at Victor. Both were unharmed. Sister, my delivery scooter was parked right outside. Isn't it faster to ride this? Victor, you did great. Victor scratched his head, smiling naively. Everyone's back. That's great. Let's go inside. The young couple was also very happy, but the door wouldn't open. Wait, the building manager cautiously pressed against the door lock. None of you were bitten, right? Our steps halted momentarily. I glanced nervously at the young couple, though they seemed more relaxed than I felt. Mila squinted with a smile. How could that be? Do we look like we've been bitten? The building manager trusted her more and lowered his guard. At that moment, the building manager's wife stepped forward. If you want to come in, you'll have to share some of your stuff with us. Why should we share with you when we risked our lives to get these? Mila was a bit annoyed. We've been guarding the gate for you, the manager's wife retorted confidently. Fine, let's share then. We compromised, and finally, the gate was opened. After sharing some supplies with the building manager, we hurried upstairs. As soon as we entered our home, Lauren and our dog rushed up to greet us. Seeing their pure and joyful faces, I burst into tears. I won't go out again before the lockdown is lifted, and if I do, I'm a dog, I declared as I went back inside. I clung tightly to Timothy's chest. I was so scared. Honey, I thought I was going to inherit everything from you. I sobbed. Honey, why do I feel like you're almost happy about it? How could I be happy? I cried. Why did you guys fall so far behind? I bought some more stuff. Timothy grinned proudly. He brought over a plastic bag and laid out its contents on the table like treasures. Although we don't need these now. Who knows how long the lockdown will last? I had to prepare for my wife. The bag was full of things for me: sanitary pads, heat packs, brown sugar, and goji berries. I was moved to tears. But then I saw the last item, a small blue box. Timothy, well done, and it's even strawberry flavored. The supplies we gathered were enough to sustain 4 people and 1 dog for 2 months. Going out was no longer an option. We could somehow muddle through. Occasionally, families with scarce supplies would ask us for help, and we'd share some with them. However, someone snitched on us. We were kicked out of the homeowners group chat. Owner of 1201, have some shame, will you? You've emptied the supermarket. Did you even pay? The supermarket is a communal resource of the residents. Monopolizing it isn't right. I heard that water and electricity might be cut off in a few days. Are they trying to exhaust everyone to death, so eventually only they will remain in this building? This couple has always been selfish, causing divisions at such a critical time. Do you even know me? After a whole day of cyberbullying, someone came knocking on our door. Open up, don't hide inside silently. I know you're home. The knocking was so intense it scared Lauren into tears. I looked through the peephole and saw a crowd outside, led by the building manager and his wife, with Axeman standing in the corner. These bastards. I was about to lose my temper, but Timothy stopped me. He nodded at me, signaling that he would handle it. There's nothing to discuss. Please go back. We risked our lives for these supplies, and we have 2 kids to feed. There are still some items in the supermarket. You can go get them yourselves if you want. His calm voice quieted the noise outside. We're not here for supplies, the building manager spoke softly. We heard someone in your family has mutated. His wife pushed him aside, looking fierce. Several residents reported being bitten on this floor. I suspect you're hiding the disease without reporting it. It's impossible. If someone were bitten, they wouldn't dare to come here so openly. There's nothing of the sort. Please go back. For everyone's safety. It's best we avoid contact. I tried to keep my tone calm. Are you feeling guilty? The building manager's wife raised her voice. You came back so late from that outing. Something must have happened. We absolutely won't jeopardize your safety. Please leave. I didn't want to argue with her anymore. I forcefully slammed the door and sat back down on the sofa with Timothy. Lauren and Victor looked up at me. It's okay, Lauren and Victor. Keep watching TV. Peppa Pig resumed on the TV. There was no longer any noise outside. Honey, something feels off, Timothy said uneasily. I feel it too. They didn't disappoint us. After a while, red fresh blood began to seep under the door. 23. Victor and Lauren's faces turned pale instantly. Hold on, Lauren. I held Lauren tightly, covering her eyes and nose, and carried her back to the room. Victor quickly scurried back to his room too. He shut the door heavily. It's okay, Lauren, everything's going to be okay. I patted Lauren's back to help her calm down. Sis, I want some candy. Her little face was sweaty, her lips pale. Okay, I still have 2 pieces of chocolate. They're all yours, sis. I really miss Mom and Dad. Alright, once the lockdown is lifted, we can see Mom and Dad. But like this, will they still love me? Of course, Lauren, you're just sick. You'll get better. Lauren's small body gradually calmed down in my arms. The fit stopped. But on the other end, Victor's room emitted a low rumbling growl. He was banging on the room door. Thud, thud. He had locked the door when he entered. 24. Outside, Timothy was pounding on the door forcefully. His voice was hoarse, restrained yet dangerous. Get the hell out of here now. I had never seen him this angry before. Timothy, I grabbed his hand, only then noticing his eyes were red. Honey, they've gone too far. He rubbed my hair. Let's not bother with others from now on, just us. I can't bear to see you in trouble, okay, but they seemed unwilling to leave us alone. We won't stop bleeding at your doorstep until you hand over the zombie. An axe smashed against the door, making a loud sizzle. What do you really want? I shouted, my voice exhausted. There was silence outside for a while. Then they pushed the building manager out. He was timid and cowardly. The zombie goes down to fetch supplies, just as I thought. It's all for supplies, so. You just need the supplies. Yes, I'll go F********. Timothy stopped my curse gently, saying, I'll go, first thing tomorrow morning. 25. At night, Lauren was too scared to sleep alone, so she ran into our room. I held her and soothed her to sleep. Victor's incessant mumbling came from next door. Let's keep Victor. Maybe there will be a cure in the future. Timothy was very quiet today. Scared? No. He turned to embrace me. Allison, I want to confess something to you. It had been a long time since he called me by my name. What? I've bitten someone before. Timothy's gaze shifted away from me, casting to a corner of the room. It was a girl. He panicked. But don't worry, I just bit her arm, didn't touch anywhere else. Okay, I got it. It's all right. I hugged him back, patting his head. I actually knew about it long ago, because the person Timothy bit was me, and he was lying. He was both kissing and hugging me, biting me not just once but twice. I discovered Timothy's zombie identity earlier than he might have imagined. At that time, I had only been with the company for a year. I held a pure admiration for the big boss. I finally got a chance to travel with his team on a business trip, but I was assigned to do odd jobs and didn't even get to meet him. However, in the dead of night, I received a call from Timothy, his heavy breathing coming through the receiver. Come to my room. Could this be my lucky break? Although I just wanted to observe him from a distance, I couldn't resist such a direct invitation. I didn't expect that upon entering, I would see his blood-covered corpse. It was definitely a corpse. I checked. There was no breathing. A metal rod protruding from the bathroom had pierced below his collarbone, causing a fatal, volcano-shaped wound. He must have faced an emergency and randomly dialed my number. My pupils dilated in shock as I tried to crawl away. I hadn't crawled far when Timothy suddenly opened his eyes. He lunged at me. I blocked my neck with my arm, which he bit down on tightly. I closed my eyes. That's it. I thought I was done for. A mild pain spread through my arm. A hot, soft sensation enveloped me. I sneakily opened my eyes. Why was he biting me and then blowing into my ear? I timidly asked. Is this an April Fool's joke? But there was no response. Timothy had fainted. The next day when I saw him again, Timothy acted as if nothing had happened. There was not a trace of blood on his clothes or in his room. I always thought that everything that day was just a dream, until I saw a scar identical to mine. The bite from Timothy never fully healed. I tattooed a small rabbit over it. Now, the rabbit was being held in Timothy's embrace. He was asleep. Outside, the moon hung brightly. Everything was peaceful and beautiful. Dare the world try to destroy this. Tomorrow, we both must live. I still have to create a family of 4 with Timothy, and 4 generations living together. The next morning, the young couple from before contacted me. It turns out, a few days ago someone irresponsibly left the building entrance open. Now everything below the 4th floor was overrun. There were masses of zombies below, but only a security door held them back. No wonder no one dared to go out for supplies, leaving us to bear the brunt. William had once studied the blueprints of the underground parking garage and showed us a safe route. Timothy didn't want me to go. I clung to him, refusing to let go. Honey, honey, stop it, wife, honey, honey. I squeezed out a couple of tears. Humph, could Timothy really resist this? As it turned out, he could. Timothy tied me up and left me in the room. Stay here, wait for my return. He kissed my forehead. Don't worry, I can't bear to die. I had a feeling that Timothy needed me, so I freed myself from the blankets and quietly followed him. The stairwell was eerily quiet. I could only hear my own breathing. I dared not take the elevator, for the small space would leave no escape in case of a fight. Descending to the 5th floor, suddenly a scream came from below. Before I could flee, 2 indistinguishable figures ran up. It was a zombie gnawing on a man's shoulder. I kept backing away. Are you okay? The bitten man, with tears in his eyes, replied, Do I look okay to you? Did you see a tall, handsome man go by? You mean the one dressed in a gray tracksuit, with a stern, ascetic look? Yes, he left with a man and a woman. The man, distracted by the zombie on his shoulder, swayed around. You should head downstairs. The door's open and it's clean. Timothy had left with a man and a woman. It must have been William and Mila, the married couple. Thanks. I gripped the baseball bat in my hand. Do you need my help hitting her? The man waved his hand with a smile. No need. She's my wife. The long-haired zombie looked up at me, flashing a bloody grin. May you have children soon. I moved past them and continued running downstairs. The man was right. The entire 4th floor was spotless. Everything felt deliberately cleaned up. I went down to the sublevel. The elevator was broken and stopped here, leaving a large pool of blood inside. But there was no sign of Timothy. A bad feeling suddenly came over me. Timothy, Timothy. Ignoring the risk of attracting zombies, I started calling out his name. Then, out of nowhere, some bastard knocked me out from behind. When I opened my eyes again, I was dazzled by the bright white around me. I found myself lying on a hospital bed. You're awake. Mila's voice came from behind me. What have you done to me? Where have you hidden Timothy? I tried to move but felt terribly uncomfortable. Mila ignored my question, coldly reciting my personal information. Sophia, 28 years old, a broadcaster by profession, married, husband's name Timothy, infected with the virus about 2 years ago, no symptoms appeared, initially assessed as an antibody carrier. Mila, in a lab coat, was followed by several others. Her confident smile reminded me of the time she helped us cover up. I suddenly realized something. Mila leaned down, whispering in my ear, I noticed that day. Your husband is a special kind of zombie. We originally just wanted to capture him, but you came right to us. Very good. You are what we were actually looking for. Was it you who incited them to cause trouble, forcing us out? I thought you were the good guys. We are the good guys. Indeed, we've been looking for a cure, and now, we might have just found it. I'm the cure. Just my luck. Constant tests, draining my blood. Can I see Timothy one last time? I'm afraid that's not possible. Mila's smile twisted. He's already been sent to the zombie isolation area. He must have turned into a monster by now. I wanted to save my husband and suddenly felt a surge of energy. I jumped up with a click-click sound, but they had guns. I lay down again. Damn, Mila pressed down on my head. I suggest you don't struggle needlessly. If you cooperate with us, your husband might suffer less. She turned on the TV on the wall. It showed surveillance footage of a large factory. The factory was crammed with disfigured zombies, at least a few thousand. Among the crowd of zombies, I caught sight of Timothy. He stood frozen among them, continuously nodding towards the camera. Actually, the virus began spreading secretly 2 years ago. and all the infected have been isolated here. Most of the samples were used for our research. These are what remain. So many. Can I really make that much medicine alone? Ha ha ha, you don't need to save everyone. Just saving a part of the population is enough. A part of the population. Which people? The rich, the powerful, also, the smart ones. Mila stepped aside, revealing the hospital bed behind her. On the bed lay William, deep in slumber. Mila swung her knife, slashing forcefully across his shoulder. Blood gushed out and stained the bed. In an instant, the wound healed. Has William been infected? Blood stained Mila's fingers. She touched William's face, a manic smile spreading across her face. He'll get better. To her, the lives of millions didn't compare to the life of her loved one. The same went for me, so I said, I can cooperate with you. Can you let my husband go? Mila relaxed a bit. Humph, he's a zombie. He'd be killed if he went outside. Timothy has a six-pack. He won't be taken down that easily. He's also very wealthy, and he's the male protagonist. What are you trying to say? I casually crossed my legs, looking composed. Nothing, just a reminder. This is a zombie story by Lauren. Before Mila could react, the window exploded. A horde of zombies, or rather, indestructible strong men, stormed in. I quickly dove under the bed. Gunshots rang out. The team stood unflinching. The armed guards in the room ran out of ammunition and stood in shock. Mila was pinned down by several men, lying on the floor, not daring to move. After the smoke from the gunpowder cleared, a row of gray shadows stood erect. Then, I heard the voice I had longed for, wife. The smoke cleared. Timothy stood behind the wall, legs crossed, leaning against the window frame. He said, I've been looking for you for a long time. Being captured by Mila was actually part of Timothy's plan. That day, Brother Axe had tipped him off, revealing that it was Mila and her group who had betrayed us, so he decided to go out and investigate. He initially just wanted to teach them a lesson to ensure our safety, but he accidentally uncovered their conspiracy hiding here. Timothy wanted to gather complete evidence before returning. My following him was an unexpected variable, but also anticipated. Thus, he teamed up with a few not fully mutated infected and launched a counterattack. At first, I didn't understand what was happening, until Timothy gave me a nodding signal. He said he'd handle everything. Even so, I still had many questions. Weren't you just crazily nodding over there, looking not so smart? How did you get here so quickly? Cough. What kind of company do I run? I'm good at making fake videos. Oh, and how could Brother Axe possibly tip you off? To him, his own life is the most important, so I told him. Told him what? My wife is a cure. You can take a bite, deserves a smack. But, he knew I was the cure. I've known for a while, Timothy said mysteriously. Why are you still? Just kidding, hee. Honey, do you think I love you because we are the same species? I really thought so. Without that video, we would never have crossed paths. Honey, that's not it. He suddenly hugged me tightly. I'm truly mesmerized by your charm. No, trapped by affection. That's more like it, honey. I've liked you since a long time ago. I was the first fan of your live streams. Seeing you progress little by little made me happier than anyone else. I love how you never give up. I love how timid yet brave you are when you sneak glances at me. I love your witty banter, your daydreams. I love you. I can't hold back anymore. I need to kiss this man. And just like that, I kissed him. Smooch. Timothy froze for a moment, staring at me. His warm fingers climbed up to my neck. His lips swiftly and fiercely hit the target, stealing my breath away. Softly, murmurs of gurgle gurgle echoed around. How lovely. I should be under the car, not here. I miss my wife. Shall we go? I had never thought before. The rolling sands of the abandoned factory and the kisses seemed so fitting. Breathless, I leaned on Timothy's shoulder to rest. Timothy, why did you take such a risk to come here? Let me think. I looked up at him earnestly, pondering. If they are only seen as monsters, and only a few survive, how far can the world be from destruction? If the world is coming to an end, how can we grow old together? So, for you, I want to save the whole world. Something melted inside my heart. I squeezed his hand tightly. Me too. For you, I want to save the whole world. After settling Lauren Victor and the clumsy one at home, I prepared to go to the relevant department to expose myself as an antibody carrier. Timothy, holding my hand. Nagged, "Honey, do you really want to go? Going, aren't you afraid they'll drain your blood? Isn't it you who said about saving the world? Good wife, I support you." We finally reached our destination after much hardship. It turned out to be just across from our neighborhood. Only then did we discover that there were already a bunch of antibody carriers here. Researchers were working day and night to find a specific cure. Timothy and I moved into the live specimen building of the Key Laboratory. As a typical example of recovery, Timothy was asked to write a self-report detailing the process of infection, symptoms, and recovery. Thinking back to the day of infection, I felt a bit embarrassed. "You must have been quite confused then. Should I help you write it?" He gestured grandly. "No need." Later, his self-report spread widely throughout the district. The content was, well, rather explicit. Timothy was overjoyed. "Honey, this is sacrificing for the world." 5 days later, a traditional Chinese medicine appeared that could alleviate madness. 2 weeks later, a vaccine was also developed. 6 months later, a specific drug finally arrived. More and more people, including me and Timothy, returned to their families. Damaged buildings were repaired. Those who took advantage of the chaos were judged. A year later, the world slowly returned to its normal functioning. I hugged Timothy, enjoying the breeze. Both body and mind delighted. "Look, the world hasn't ended yet." "All right, next up, growing old together." Timothy pulled me onto his lap, and a family of 4, with 4 generations under one roof. The end. Wedding side story. "Hello everyone, I'm Lauren, the child from another family. I'm so happy. My illness has been cured, and I can finally go to elementary school. Mom and Dad came home too, and they said they'll spend more time with me from now on." Upstairs, Big brother Timothy and big sister Sophia are planning to have a proper wedding ceremony. They asked me to be the flower girl, and big brother Victor to be the best man. Although Victor's illness is also cured, he has a large wound that still bleeds often, so he's always worried about not being able to find a girlfriend. Big sister Sophia told him not to worry. She's found several beautiful ladies to be bridesmaids. I hope that silly Victor finds the bitterness of love soon. On the day of the wedding, I arrived at brother and sister's house early in the morning. Strangely, big brother Timothy was standing at the door with a tense face. I thought he was just nervous, but inside, big sister also had a serious expression. Her beautiful wedding dress was tossed aside, stained with blood at the front. Their expressions reminded me of myself when I scored 30 on a test, and how my mom looked when she saw my report card. Big sister with hands on her hips. "Do you realize what you did wrong?" Big brother with a look of grievance. "I know I did wrong, honey. I told you not to hug me. Your wound could bleed onto the wedding dress, and it would be awful. But honey, you were too beautiful. I couldn't help myself. So what do we do now?" Big brother Timothy was at a loss for words and continued to be punished by standing. I raised my hand. "How about, dye it all red? I'm such a clever little devil." And then big sister got married in that red wedding dress. She was so beautiful, prettier than any bride I've ever seen. Because big brother was alternately laughing so hard his mouth stretched to his ears and then crying his eyes out. I won't compliment him too much. Many uncles and aunts who had been sick before also came to the wedding. They said that big brother Timothy and big sister Sophia saved their lives. I know they saved mine too, so I also left them a little blessing. I heard from the adults that kids jumping on the newlyweds' bed is a magical way to create babies, so I invited the whole class of kids to come. I don't know if it will be too much for big sister, but big brother Timothy seemed really happy. I think I'll have little nieces or nephews very soon.